Yeah, like yeah, living misery. Tell me why I seem like we'll be living in a trickery. Trust me, I am sick of you. If you ever was sick of me, tell me why you cold so down. Yeah, I'm gonna get rid of you if you try to get rid of me. Somewhere in the Italy, you niggas that do Italy. I'm a grave digger and believe I'm gonna dig a ditch. Tell me why you cold so down. Are you kidding me? No, there's not a game. Fuck with me, that'd be a penalty. I've been heard through Arizona all the way to Tennessee. I don't do no photos. Why you trying to take a pic with me? To equilibrium up the polarizer shit complete. Life is like a puzzle. I'm just looking for the missing piece. Soon you start accomplishing, they make you see the prison scene. Make you wait for trial and give you time just like they did with me. Yeah. Just go incognito. They only out for blood like a big mosquito. Yeah. They only want your energy. Soon as you started turning up, that's when they turn to enemies. Nigga, please. Yeah. Live in misery. Tell me why I seem like we'll be living in a trickery. Trust me, I am sick of you. If you ever was sick of me, tell me why you oh so down. Yeah, I'm gonna get rid of you if you try to get rid of me. Somewhere in the Italy, you niggas think you did a leak. I'm a grave digger and believe I'm gonna dig a ditch. Tell me why you all so down. Am I on the right track? Cause it's like a nigga think. Try to get connected and you looking like the missing link. Start to smell your own ass. Start acting like your shit don't stink. It's like relationship, but every time the shit would stink. Girl, be so wet, dripping water like a kitchen sink. Bitch, I clean your condo like Mario or I must agree. In your mouth like mystery. Leave your present down. I don't know there's not a Christmas tree. You just might see jingle bells. Yeah. Ride that flight, it's my lingo down. Got my voice from heaven, please don't make me sing a song. Sing along, then be gone like a missionary. Just like they got said gone, origin history, the blessed me. Yeah, live in misery. Tell me why it seems like we'll be living in a trickery. Trust me, I am sick of you. If you ever was sick of me, tell me why you hold so down. Yeah, I'm gonna get rid of you if you try to get rid of me. Somewhere in the Italy, you niggas that do Italy. I'm a grave digger and believe I'm gonna take a ditch. Tell me why you hold so down.
Don't nobody crash out. Don't nobody crash out just because it's in reverse. Don't crash out, please. Nobody crash out, please. Even though we've been going through crash out season for a good about 3 years now. I would stretch it further than that, but I don't want to be on the back of the boat. You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to be back on got Google scholarship and stuff like that or get written authorship, Briticana. You know what I'm saying? Right now, I'm good where I'm at right now. I'm trying to make a boat, make a ship, make a kayak. Sam, real shit. Let's talk about life. We're gonna talk about life for everybody, and this is what everybody need to know. And it's gonna get you some energy to kind of give you more perspective and confirmation of what you already know. You know what I'm saying? Because who told you you don't know everything? Who told you that? It's your lack of understanding. But you still here. You still stumbled across something. You might ain't know that it was some bullshit up the village. You still stepped in it and had to realize, oh, there's a such thing as bullshit. So just because you lack comprehension don't mean you lack the experiences and having to go through shit. I'm going to tell you that right now. That's when it goes to the goddamn esoteric water cycle system. Learn how to look at everything in a percentage scale of mechanism first before you start to become your subjective version of objective and start to kind of compartmentalize. Oh, no, this is good. Put it in this box. This is bad. Put it in this box. You get retarded and life becomes a box of chocolates. Oh, Sam, all life's on chocolate. Forest, fish, guppy, neck, chin line. But yeah, we got to figure out all these things so we can know what's going on. And you got to believe in afterlife because there's always going to be a life after. Who said you pick death and pick life and be like, oh, this one's good, this one's bad? What about the transition? That's like a mechanism for something to be born and then for it to even get to death. That had like a little time span. You forgot about life? Don't forget about life and don't attach life to birth. Them two different things. You know what I'm saying? For something to have a life, it have to be born. If something ain't born, it won't have no life. These is like, you know what I'm saying? You can't tie them in like the same thing. Can't just be something with life, never born. That make no sense. Got to be born through something or spirit evaporation out this motherfucker. Gotta help people do that too. Gotta help spirit evaporate. Your spirit is your space. See, y'all get lost in this term spirit because what a person choose to do in their personal space. So when they develop their personification within their empty space, they start to fulfill it with characteristics. And this what y'all start to call concepts, ideologies, spirituality. But I tell y'all, it's always individuality. And when you peel back the layers, then you know that you are individually observant, obviously, what you're creating or emanating, and interacting with others that may be doing the same thing, that comes into a collection of energy on a less dense energy to manifest into a heavier dense form of energy, condensing. Then you get that fusion, friction, and pressure mechanism, and get a hold of it, wrap it around your finger, understand it, overstand it, understand it, get out of it, and then motherfucker, you the spiritual practitioner when it comes to outer creating anything somebody can stand in or up under or inside. Oh, I'm sad, Rose. If you ain't esoteric enough, you ain't gonna get nothing. What the fuck I'm getting ready to get into? I'm gonna tell you that right now, too. Go ahead and get your ass up out of here. The way you think, that's the way God made it. Everybody can help themselves. You can help yourself to going in the goddamn esoteric Garden of Eden and stumbling over some poison ivy or a goddamn flower with some goddamn thorns on it. Or you can stumble across some goddamn shit or already be intelligent and be like, I don't want to go over there because I can see that person from a distance and I could be wise looking at this fool. Or I'm already a part of the holy ones. I already know what's in nature. Naturally, I know metaphysically and physically that's the wrong direction to go. Bars. I'm saying, so if you ain't in that spectrum, I'm going to tell you right now, you lost. You lost in the sauce. Go back and listen to grandma. You know what I'm saying? Retarded goddamn off the boat grandma or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Or some goddamn shit that's on some damn shit. You know what I'm saying? Or somewhere, some off the end of the credits of a movie. Other than this don't take no written down nothing. Straight up oral tradition. You get it. You'll start to realize, oh, this don't even have to be written down. For anything get written down, spirit already know this first. How did I get lost in reverse? Bars. Got born and got indoctrinated. You know what I'm saying? So everything became a filter and layer before you realize what you already doing anyway. And everything become a crutch outside of you to give you assistance, which you don't realize you doing anyway. And until you realize you doing these things anyway, you ain't never gonna have full control over it. Everything outside of you externally gonna have control over what you doing anyway. No, and then here's the thing: when you start that seed, everybody self-reflect. When you start off on that seed, you end up playing the same energies that you in. So you want to drag other spirits in that space with your esoteric crab hands and shit like that. AKA make people listen to you now. AKA you want others to use you as an external representation to help them with anything that they need internally that they already doing. And then it's like the blind leading the blind in ways y'all don't even be knowing y'all blind. Y'all think y'all be having clarity. Shit, I'm telling you. Y'all be know what the fuck going on. Y'all be all over the goddamn place and mechanisms and stuff like that, but we'll get on track. We're going to help everybody get the right mechanisms and understand how to get things going when you here in the first place, because you wouldn't be here in the first place. So if you already here in the first place and then you trying to come up with psyops around what I'm getting ready to talk about, it's going to be retarded a little bit, because now you missing the point. You missing the whole mechanism of how you got here, and you trying to create a way of where you going. That's something your spirit already been exercising, regardless of the form we currently in and what you currently in. And you need to learn. You need to know better. And you would do better. You know what I'm saying? Real shit. We 12 minutes in yet, but we're gonna live into the matrix in this motherfucking shit. And it ain't really the matrix at all. But you're going on the motherland, you're going inside of the womb. So you're really gonna be tapped into the motherfucking environment. Then your space is going to be in the right area to formulate the right thoughts, the right atmosphere. Then all spirits going to want to collect in a group atmosphere, aka in an environment that they all share space with, to duplicate these things that be going on when it comes to your spiritual experiences. Now, your spirit is your space. Everything has an equilibrium to it. So when you peeling back layers, if you're lost in some type of word, language, or whatever the case may be, and it lack certain terms to point to that every spirit be experiencing, for you to get ahead of the curve, you know what I'm saying, and get that direct, indirect, and equalize it out for your own perspective, right? For the most part, always find the third layer that may not necessarily represent the polarization of the word. For an example, spirit, soul. You'll have people lost in dualization. So for the most part, they think these things are separate, not knowing that individuals is just pointing to things and calling things terms to represent an experience. And then especially when you're getting a lot of information, that's probably people who are observing other people doing these things, you're going to get hand-me-down knowledge and not actually what it is. And just from a logical perspective, not actually being able to experience for yourself. So we can use this within context. Spirit, soul. We know we're both pointing to something that no one can see. So we always trying to explain something, what it is. Then when people point to it from that starting point, you'll miss what you already doing, thinking that you need an external representation to do what you already doing. A book, or what's external to your spirit is your mind, and what's external to your mind is your body. So your mind is within your body and your spirit is within your mind. So you get lost within yourself. A small seed of organ implosion and things of that nature. So you'll find yourself creating a bunch of dumb arguments about spirit and a bunch of dumb arguments about soul. But if you know equilibrium, regardless of language, you know what to experience, you know what you are experiencing, and you know what other individuals are pointing to as a mechanism beyond the word that they created for them to understand it tomorrow. Therefore, you're lighter in nature when it comes into the spirit expanding and contracting and being more of an adult than a spirit that has to stay encapsulated in things that may be on a seed of still having grace, but still on the way of small mechanisms of hell, or coming in forms that they don't necessarily respect once they get born, if it got small dick energy or not. You know what I'm saying? Now, for the most part, what do I mean by this? Beyond the term spirit and soul, if you want to understand this from your concept and things of that nature, you probably lack literary history in your spirit being adult, then you can look at certain traits itself. Traits goes beyond the words. A person have to actually be experiencing, going through a certain spiritual space, developing certain mind states, it bending in and becoming their actions for us to start determining what we're looking at and what word we can see in a dictionary. But when you already know what space a person is in, based upon you getting good at looking at the qualities a person's natures, right, that tap into actual nature, you know how to pull the two and two together. Nature, holy holies, and this person nature. They're holy, they're an enemy with the environment and the atmosphere, holy holies, and then you'll get messages from the holy holies, the holy ones, on whatever this person is doing. You know where that seed start from, regardless of what word may be put over it, what action may be put over it, and may have a lot of percentage scale of other words and meanings that may cover up the actual natural seed that, even for those ones to be a branch off that tree, had to start from this seed. So all those bushes and leaves might cover up the natural origin of this natural characteristic if you not a spiritual sensei and sensitive to the senses. See what I'm saying? So this is where it comes to medicine men, medicine women, beyond the physical nature and telling you what to put together to help you out. This help you out mentally with your mind also, so you could be mentally healed and not be mentally ill. You know what I'm saying? People who are mentally ill don't understand concepts like this, what leads them into ill things physically anyway, even if it ain't drugs. That's harsh. And then for the most part, on the flip side, you're able to see this mechanism from a healthier perspective, where you know you're building spiritual health, and therefore you're having a good spiritual diet where you're letting the great spirit shape you. Therefore, it play out as your actual actions being shaped and formed better than another individual that will look at you as a form of inspiration, or for any form of structure or discipline or way to go about their creativity when they need forms of inspiration. Now, when we think about spirit, right? When you look at what everybody talking about spirit, they're pointing to something that we can't see, but something that we can't see, developing something we can see. A person characteristics. The spirit is no thing, can't see it. The mind is the first characteristics that play over it like a cloth, animalistic nature, however the case you want to, if you want to look at it like a man, animal, something with an atmosphere, as long as an atmosphere. Then for the most part, the body is going to be the physical representation of the condensed version of that light. Now, here's the thing, if you want to call it light, for lack of better words, you know, light could mean a lot of things. Formation, a deficiation of distance, a deficiation of distance. It can represent, because when we think about closeness, dimness, implosion, all this represent accumulation, heaviness, or darkness, or an accumulation of things after the fusion, friction, and pressure. Now, when it comes into brightness, that comes from things being more light in density and expansion and distance, or explosion, or just like going back to distance. And these things represent masculine in its totality, and a condensing or the collection of things represents feminine in its totality. So we're emanating these mechanisms before we even create a fusion, friction, and pressure with our minds to make these physical forms or physical things or metaphysical things we can react to be like, where this come from? Is this some nature's God created or whatever the case may be? You need to know this is all of our spirits interacting with each other, because we're all doing the same thing. The what, but how we do it is different. And then that's us learning from each other, being in that great space, the great platform for we all develop our micro atmospheres to develop the global atmosphere, then all of our condensing to create the macro environment for all of us to have our micro environments, our body. So when you're looking at it within this concept, right? Anytime you're talking about spirit or in the spirit, it takes more than one. So this is just a concept of multiple or condensed concept of it, effeminate. Anytime something lighter, it got separation from something that's accumulated. So it's not heavy, it's lighter, not actual light like this, but something being light as in weight. So for the most part, that deals with forms of separation, larger on the mechanism. So that deals with singling something out. And for the most part, that would be in totality masculine. So that would be more considered a soul. So anytime you're listening to someone, they may not know what they're explaining, but they're pointing to a person describing their space. And anytime they're having more on a percentage scale with words and the definitions and the dictionary and stuff based on a person describing their space being more alone, is going to be more correlated to a person talking about a soul. When a person starts talking about their space being in multiple different spaces to observe how other spaces, souls think, and then you could kind of observe it and then come up with your subjective thought about these things. Hopefully you don't go too far in thinking these things objective and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Then that's where you'll get into the spirit. So anytime you hear somebody describing being in the spirit, they're in a space that's not just their own. So they're going in different spaces, trying to see how other spirits spaces formulate ideologies and ideas, and bring it back to their space to formulate if they're going in the right direction or not, or can they pass that knowledge and teaching along to others. So spirit represent multiple and feminine in totality. Soul represents singular and masculine in totality, and we all created that mechanism as spaces. So as a space, you could be in your own space, a soul, or you could be in someone else's space, aka be in the spirit, be amongst spirits. But it's not the characteristics that we're pointing to themselves that, you may get lost, or people who are observing other people who are doing things may have got the wrong idea based upon what was going on internally with these individuals when they was doing these practices or these rituals, and may have been coming from a different starting point of thinking what these things was based upon whatever self-serving or whatever trying to align or acceptance, however the case it may be. So a lot of times we get faulty reasonings based upon what we all experiencing anyway for us to be interested and be here and try to learn about life. So it's helping everybody get mentally in the right space, or we taught them in Zen, mentally in the right space, so we can understand what I'm getting ready to get into. And you don't think it's pseudo, because it's things that you can experience every day in your life beyond death, because you're experiencing the mechanism on small and large scales. Once you're alive, everything is in reverse. So the death scale may be a little smaller on a percentage scale. The life scale may be a little larger than that on a percentage scale. And a birth scale may be larger than that on a percentage scale. When you're in reverse, experiencing things through the lens of the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension. Now it's in reverse when you're experiencing it through the mind, the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension, from everybody's space, 7th, 8th, and 9th dimension, the most expanded, not up or down. So you get more condensed once you go into the 4th, 5th, and 6th, and get more condensed once you go into the 1, 2, and 3rd. So, everything play out in reverse. In the spiritual world, death play out highest on a percentage scale first, right? Because once you emanate a form and separate yourself from the great spirit, a form of death, you know what I'm saying? Then life play out in between. It's always in the in between, like the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension in general. And then on the smaller scale, birth. So this is letting you know on a mechanism, spirits has a circumstance where they're here to harness their emanations as far as minds and bodies, and then getting rid of them, burying it the right way, to make sure they always expand into new forms to add on, not get stuck into the thing that's supposed to be buried, the mind and the form and things of that nature, and then create a synthetic world that don't got the physicality to it and just the metaphysicality to it. And then you plan out things in reverse, a spirit living in death. So you have to be careful of that too, where you could actually live in death. So you can live out in reverse. You could think Earth is a death realm, and in your mind create your own world, thinking that it's hell or death, right? And then leave from being born again in any type of expansion anywhere. And then for the most part, be living in death, be living in a mind that you can't separate from and expand or create another one. And that be too much attached to the flesh and not wanting it to die, but the flesh being expired and dying. So it'd be just like a mind stuck in a body and the organs don't work no more, that the mind condensed that became to be, and the spirit stuck inside of it because the mind was so strong into its beliefs that it don't even think it's dead. You know what I'm saying? So it's like in a dream, a coma, where really the goddamn body is dead and the spirit got to wait till that dream be so retarded that you got to realize you're dreaming. And then that means you're around other spirits that can add on new awarenesses when you lack that spark of your own juice filling up your cup energy. So let's get into it. Neo, is you ready? Trinity, what did Morpheus tell you today? Did Morpheus get you lost today? And do we got to make a Matrix 6? You know what I'm saying? Because look, once something is done, if a prayer was good, if the spiritual practice is right, if you're really with the holy ones, it's one and done. The moment you got to put the thing in a collection plate, goddamn it, every 24/7 for the past 2,000 motherfucking years, something ain't working. Somewhere down the line, you missing the parts of whatever you into ain't working. You know what I'm saying? It ain't working. Said somehow, some way, was ever in that thing that would you be liking and reading that it's against everything, them things are still in the world, somehow what you into ain't working. You know what I'm saying? So you need to keep that in mind. Now, history speaks for itself. Let's do a history test. Now, don't go to casting stones at nobody new shit, fresh shit, or shit that sound better and shit. If you attach to some shit that, let's do a history test right now. Let's see where it stands in time. So, you know what I'm saying? Real shit, you wouldn't be able to fight or debate through a wet paper bag and a golf ball through a water hose if your mother was sucking through it. I'm going to tell you that right now. Just shut up, badge, and we're going to get into this spiritual shit, this new wild, wild west where everybody can get spiritually healed and everybody got a chance to go to heaven. Everybody got a chance to be spiritually cleansed the right way. If you here right now, that means you got grace. Don't you like being here? I don't want nobody on this earth getting into some situation, because sometimes I'll be listening to atheists and they got common sense in other areas, retardations in other areas because of their starting point of just being an atheist, being involved in a weird dichotomy that ain't got nothing to do with anything anyway for you to have the wrong starting point. You know what I'm saying? So they say things like, oh, yeah, after this, that's it. But you here. You don't remember being born and you ain't going to remember dying, but so you here. You know what I'm saying? So don't you like being here? So if you don't like your life now, it ain't what you doing now is what you always been doing. You have got grace, but you came up out of hell. But you have got help with others that was in hell. So y'all ain't know y'all was in your own minds, but y'all was all in that spiritual space. Like, I need somebody else. So teamwork become a main thing for all your desires and characteristics you don't like that got you in that mental hell and all our cycles in the first place. And if you a human, you've been doing things a little more longer than an alligator, a little longer than a rabbit. Well, based upon organ and lifespan, it's the metaphysic concept that could condense from tension span. And it takes spirits to go through a bunch of birth, life, deaths to know that ability that I'm leaving minds and it condensed as forms behind. And when I be inside of these forms, it's information. And the more I use it to create new experiences, I go into a greater mind atmosphere and a greater environment when I'm closer to the holy holies when I'm doing this cycle. So I can represent the holy holy always and come back and raise up other humans, even when they're back. Other species, even when they're back and they still don't know how to act out their natures, but they can still come in this new atmosphere and organ to learn if they got grace and things of that nature. Hopefully they don't go too extreme. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, once you understand that mechanism, oh, okay, I'm creating a mind that condenses and become an organ. And then I use that to have new experiences using this one. So those two things create a new thing. The joining of two energies create another one. Not me create a mind and a body, forgot what I did, then use the mind that I already created this body with to create another version of that in my head. And then I do that with the teamwork makes the dream work, another version of Earth in my head. And then I do that with the teamwork makes the dream work with my micro version of atmosphere and environment. A same version of me being an animal or a man in my head. So now I'm going through, now I separated from the mind, metaphysic, and then separated it from it being able to go through the mechanism of condensing and become physical and trap it in one area. So then when I die as a spirit, I might go to that's trapped in this one area that it can't connect with everybody because everybody's still connected with everything else and there's still a genuine way. And without no grace, you'll end up getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And as thicker and thicker that becomes, that it can become more scattered, that the thought only be a couple of seconds. And even if people catch it, they don't want that thought. And then you as a spirit, you're playing out in reverse. If you're in the spiritual world, your spirit is getting smaller and smaller and smaller within that foggy cloud. Then your spirit get evaporated and get replaced with a foggy cloud. And then that scatters after a while, because that was your last piece of thing that could condense to become physical. It's just purely your mind and the way you was thinking and feeling. And then that was purely on your own, and no one want to add to it because it's like a thought and feeling that people will pick up and be like, oh, this is stupid. No one would agree with this. And then now you alone and don't know how to spark your own connection again, even brought you back into the physical mechanism. And now you get ready to do spiritual evaporation. Now it take a while for spirits to do that, but spirits got that done. It became possible, because I'm an angel. I wouldn't even be able to explain that if it ain't became possible. I've seen a lot of spirits did that, not trying to save a lot of spirits and shit like that. And that's for all ethnicities. We're not talking about people in their ego and people who want to play stuff and just jump in esoteric bullets. All this for everybody. Everybody, all species, humans. No one would be here without what the fuck I'm talking about right now. So everybody the same right now. What I'm talking about, back into the world, this world I'm talking about before we even make this, to know what to do with it, and it ain't doing something with us. You know what I'm saying? The sun and the moon ain't making you no long house. You making the long house. You making the mansion. So, motherfucker, understand what the fuck going on, bitch. You either gonna do it for God or you gonna do it for something that to take your ass right up out of here. And God always help those who help themselves. And God give everybody gifts and talents that it don't matter what you do. You ain't gonna never be able to take away something. And never use that word never, but you can use it in this concept, because you need to understand this. You ain't gonna never be able to take away a gift that God gave someone else. And trust me, you need to understand everybody got gifts. If one of these gifts look like it's something you don't need to be around, and trust me, that God gave them that gift, and you need to stop trying to change them and take it away from them in this motherfucking shit. You know what I'm saying? What's good for you may not be good for someone else, and what's bad for you may not be bad for someone else. Jail may be very good for that person. You know what I'm saying? Just because it ain't good for you, because you more healthy minded and stuff like that and spiritually expanded, don't mean that ain't a gift that God gave that person. God gave that person to always end up under somebody's SUV, or always getting up out of the halfway house 18 months later or something like that. God gave them that gift. It ain't for you to try to change that unless you want them same gifts. You hang around somebody long enough, you start to absorb their gifts. You know what I'm saying? Real shit. Start looking at everything as godly gifts that God gave them. Motherfucker. Girl, shit, y'all don't think clearly. Y'all be retarded, taking the wrong missions. Let's get into it. You know what I'm saying? Now, check it out. Now, the spirit, the more the spirit have experiences, the more it's aware of the realm of reality it's within. Now, look at it before you want to say I'm pseudo. This is why I was training your brain, so you can look at everything from a starting point. Look at everything from a holy, you're an enemy. Holy. Things that your enemy play out as nature, your natures, and you can see that in nature beyond you. So you should even be able to see a quality you have that a butterfly have. You should even be able to see a quality that you have that a snake have. You should be able to see a quality that you have that a dove have. And if you can't find it, you're so much distracted in something, either in yourself that you separated once again from the metaphysical and the physical world, or some synthetic program you're in. You was watching Walt Disney too much. You listened to your drunk auntie too much. You know what I'm saying? You was on TikTok too much. You have her, or before these things. Listen to your peers too much. However the case may be, it led you away from you being able to see what I'm talking about, and this would take you into that seed of thinking things are pseudo. So if we both walking through the park or doing anything, we could be doing things that's synthetic. I'm still going to be more wiser than you and things of that nature, because I'm going to be able to see how you and me have a quality that I'll be able to check for myself first if it's going to lead to a negative route that you're not going to be able to check, and I'll be able to be the medicine man or whatever woman that got the same energy as me will be able to be the medicine woman to be able to put you on the game, and then you might still say it's pseudo, yet we saved your life, or yet we stopped that goddamn stain from getting on your goddamn shirt to stop us from being late to the wherever we going, goddamn it. You know what I'm saying? Real shit. So you got to look at things like that. Then you could piece that mechanism, then put it in your polarization situations. Oh, okay, that works. This pill, this esoteric healing, Holy Land area I just plucked from this tree works for this area of my life because this way, because of this specific thing, and this, and then one person can be like, oh, okay, this. So we all in the same place spiritually. Is this? It's a location there. I call it the esoteric Babylon. You know what I'm saying? That people be on different streets and shit, but spiritually, no one bigger than no one else. You know what I'm saying? And everybody got to know that's where you are. If you an observer, you're already there. If something not in an observer position, it came from that. So it's already a condensed version of it. So if you can't see a tree moving around, then it came from something already moving around. And then based on percentage scales, we know how long something been moving around for how long something can be condensed, and based upon the mechanism family it belongs to. You know what I'm saying? Tree is a mechanism family of something that have been manifested metaphysically and physically, and then that process alone been duplicating for a long time to become a physical thing that can have a longer expiration date. So that means mentally, before it became a physical mustard seed, it was a long transition of existences. You know what I'm saying? And things of that nature. So you got to look at things in that aspect. It's deep. I don't want to throw y'all off, but you know what I'm saying? This is for a lot of y'all to get there. Just come to the water and know where to go to make your own cup. So you're coming to the ocean, but the way I'm telling you to make a cup ain't necessarily like how the lack of information a person may say that. Like they making you a cup right at the ocean. No, we in a whole little world spiritually. So there's an esoteric GPS where, you know, and it's right in this location though. You go up the street a little bit and there's like a Home Depot or esoteric appliance store that we go make the cups at. So as long as you know where the waterfront at, as long as you know where the beach at, that's me bringing you to the water. But then now you know you're on a whole different block. You ain't in that same city and states of beings manifesting gas, liquids, and solids and formations and travels and interactions with other individuals that you used to. So, you know, you might be unfamiliar to this holy land. So as long as you got your esoteric GPS, I brought you to the water, and then there's like a whole little good market street. You know what I'm saying? Esoteric Home Depot up the street, esoteric mall up the street, and things of that nature. And don't go spend your esoteric currency on bullshit. Make sure you go buy the material for a motherfucking cup, not no bullshit because you see all the goddamn it treasures and treasure boxes and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? And power shit man concepts. Before you know it, you're going to be crying again. Oh, I forgot where the water at. I forgot where the beach at. And somebody got to come get you and you still ain't got no cup. And we got to look at you like, damn, what'd you spend your money on and shit like that? And then your ass, fucking P. Diddy or Jay-Z or something like that, been rapping for damn 50 years and you ain't got a record company that look like McDonald's and Burger King that every city and state can go to like it's a Boys and Girls Club. And it's like stars that's being born every motherfucking day and new money being brought back to you and your ethnicities and shit like that. Nigga, fuck you, nigga. Real shit. I'm here for the Pan Indian movement. And that mean all tribes, all ethnicities. If you got them poor white trash trailer park, you got somebody, got your back. Slave, free man, African, and you lost your tribe, your language, so you don't even know where to start to pick from. You got somebody who got your back over here. You know what I'm saying? Real shit. Spangler, lost your power, so you just living somewhere in Colorado, you just living somewhere about Mexico, you just living somewhere about Florida. You ain't got shit, just like everybody else. And you got me. You know what I'm saying? Real shit. Like, we don't get it in. You know what I'm saying? Real shit don't matter. We'll just break them all down. Wet cornbread, wet back, spit. You know what I'm saying? Homie cheese, homie slice, walking, talking in. Yeah, God, Jamaican nigga. It doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? If you creative and you care more about that, I got your back. I got your back. That's what that shit mean. That's what that shit mean. I'm saying everybody get a chance to go to heaven. Everybody get a chance. Everybody. If you can't tap into the holy ones, you could tap into one of the messengers. Now, I might not be perfect. I might not be that exact thing and things of that nature. I'm a hell of a representation, and I don't want to do nothing else down here. I'm sad just be a representation for that. Guess what? You get to come back and be like this. Why would you want to come back and be like any time? It could be a time you come back, the shit you care about right now, don't even like less on a percentage scale. You might come back as a time that the shit you crying about now, what y'all crying about now, DI, respiration, money, and all that shit, and all this other stuff y'all want. That shit might be less on a percentage scale. It might be a whole different type of way the culture is. You might be the main practitioner who have to start it, all kind of shit. You don't know. Just be with God and let God work. You know what I'm saying? You just be an employee for God. You don't try to be no master or nothing like that. You be an employee for God and be for your people. That's all it takes. You know what I'm saying? And your people could be your spiritual soul tribe at this point. That's everybody. Like I just explained it. Now, and this is what it means. The more the spirit have experiences, the more it's aware of the realm of reality it's within. Think about that for a second, right? Your spirit is your space. You go through certain experiences. You're developing awarenesses, thoughts, and feelings. The more experiences, it condenses and it becomes the things you daydream about. It becomes the things you dream about that play out in different ways, but it's a reminder of what spiritual space you are in. So when you was exchanging multiple spaces with your spiritual space, then you always your own individual solo space, which is your soul. You start to experience what you start to create by interacting with others doing the same thing. And then you having no choice but to do it with your subjective nature. So you start to experience your less dense body and the mechanism of how it becomes condensed. So this is how you know what sleep means. Sleep is a circumstance where when your mind bends in and create adrenaline, blood, and organs, right? This moves slower vibrationally. So you can kind of like charge it out or max it out to the point it needs to recharge. So thinking and feeling is producing life when you created thinking and feeling to condense into a body that we're calling death. So to keep your body alive takes thoughts and feelings. This is why your spirit is always emanating thoughts and feelings, because that's what you're producing, adrenaline that keeps the organ that it becomes to be pumping. So your spirit always expanding and contracting, creating a pulse. So anytime you overuse your body, or just based on timing, your body has to rest and recharge. And therefore, the organs can go ahead and be replenished. And then that's when you have a dream. But you're really just in your same body. You're just not in the mechanism of when it condense and become the physical experiences. So you're just in your less dense, the lesser layer body, the less dense, lesser layer body. So you got to look at it like that. You still here. You didn't go nowhere else. You're just more in the seat of the spirit and the observer of how we're teamwork makes the dream work, making the atmosphere, and all of that come together as fusion, friction, and pressure and become the environment. So this is why you know anytime you get close to something that we have already created from the atmosphere, the light, and made an environment out of it, anytime you do these things in your imagination, your less layered, dense version of it, you jump right back into the heavier, dense version of it. Your subjective version, atmosphere, mind, environment, body, and the actual concept of it, holy, atmosphere and the environment that everybody, teamwork makes a dream work, doing the same thing. That's how you know that. You see what I'm saying? That's how you know how to make that make sense, what we doing, before you over exaggerate through your polarization and your personal experiences that mad spirits like me and other spirits been here for eons, got more of a hold of these experiences. You know what I'm saying? I went through many birth, lives, and deaths and shit like that. So there's a thing where certain dances and chants, you learn that because you know that that's what this is. We're connected, but it takes a person to learn how to put on rims before they can put on rims. Or you're just going to be somebody sitting back saying, oh, yeah, you know how to put on rims, but all that stuff you're into and telling me the meaning behind it of what gave you this talent in the first place, I may not believe in. And I'm going to separate from that The metaphysical point, because we in reverse in the physical, and take the physical point. You putting on rims, write that down. I know how to put on rims too, but what I'm going through inside, I don't believe that because I can put on rims too. And then here's the thing: it ain't the what, it's the how. We both putting on rims, but the how. You ain't gonna be able to create no new better rims and things, and come back and tell people how to put on rims. And then you was born with a natural talent of just knowing how to put a whole car together, and you didn't even know cars exist yet. Then this person still just stuck, and then they probably got a whole line of generations trying to uphold one fashion company of rims that no one starts to give a fuck about anymore. You know what I'm saying? And that's how you know how it's starting to play out on the larger scale of life, when it's a lesser percentage scale and a larger percentage scale or something. Oh no, y'all, I gotta get some tissue. I gotta stop jogging outside. Yeah, the weather be changing and shit. Sometimes I gotta think, go stay in the crib when the weather changing and shit like that. Stay in the crib. But sometimes you need the air tossing, so you don't necessarily get sick. It just flush through you though. You still experience what everybody else experience, but you don't. It don't hold on to you, and you somewhere sick. It just flush all through it, flush all out. So you can still go outside, but naked, middle of winter time. The more adrenaline you build, it mix in with the testosterone, balance out the estrogen, and it be the metaphysical fire you had internally condensing and becoming that version of blood. So there's certain exercises we used to do, especially like the Native Americans, certain exercises in cold time in the winter time that keep your body warm. And when you're doing that normally, your body is like a normal thing. You create resonance and tractions of times, almost like sleep patterns. A lot of y'all, based off what y'all do, your body sometimes stop needing an alarm clock. Now, if you got a job or something like that, you want to be on time, because sometimes your body will wake up 10 minutes after or 10 minutes before. But still in the same concept. When you put your body in a certain regiment, in a certain pattern, it play out metaphysically and physically. And your body will start waking up at that time all the time, no matter when you go to sleep and shit. You know what I'm saying? So y'all got to keep that in mind too. Healthy shit for y'all spirit. Healthy shit for y'all spirit. You know what I'm saying? If you're a gang member, you'll be running your whole gang. Like slowly but surely, y'all won't even be doing crimes no more and shit like that. Y'all have better shit to rap about, better shit to get in the circle about, do gang signs, fake native hobbyism shit about. It'll be shit that make your grandmothers proud and shit. Whole neighborhood grass will be cut. You know what I'm saying? Y'all can gang bang all day, and I guarantee if I could even come to California right now or something like that, come to Chicago, all y'all aunties' yards look like bullshit. All y'all grandmother's yards look like bullshit, though. You could gangbang real hard, though, up the street. I'm saying gangbang real hard up the street. But your damn auntie yard look like bullshit. Your mama's yard look like bullshit and shit like that. Ain't no new updates, new sheltering, survival through seasonal transitions. Somehow your house and everybody else's houses that you supposed to be working on look the best on the goddamn block or something like that. None of those is like efforts or that like that. It's just efforts of goddamn how fast I go to jail or do a cartwheel in front of a coffin or something like it's just retarded or something. Oh, it's sad. So I just make your job be retarded. And going to hell right after and shit, because you don't know what you participate in shit. But everybody got grace when they don't know what they do. But if you know better, you gotta do better. That's the only thing I can say, though. Don't stumble across my channel and then act like you still don't know no better. I'm gonna keep it 100. Now, from life situations, positive and negative, all the way to your dreams and imaginations and daydreaming you have. So like I said, the more the spirit have experiences, the more it's aware of the realm of reality it's within. From life situations, positive and negative, all the way to the dreams and imaginations and daydreaming that you have. So, Earth is a platform that one chooses to represent where they space came from and where they space is going. Space, aka spirit. When you come and do the teamwork makes the dream work, you're in Earth. So you did the teamwork makes the dream work for anybody to even be here, because that takes fusion, friction, and pressure. There is no such thing as you being in a world that has a starting point without the main mechanisms of how everybody here sharing each other's experiences in the first place. You see what I'm saying? So when it comes into the experiences, now, from positive or negative or daydreaming or imagination, Earth is just the platform that the spirit starts to express where they came from, aka all this awareness and thoughts that they got with this new mind. It's a familiar where they space was previously at, and the city and states of beings, minds that they was inside of. And then that birth life expiration date, and then come here to see if they're going to change it or still do it if it's representative with with the holy, because that's the challenge. You getting out of yourself and seeing if it match with actual reality or not, and that's teamwork makes the dream work. You coming back to reality, or you separating yourself, and if you have grace, getting out of that hell. But you still being familiar, so you still spark that same type of size, so your spirit create that same type of mentality that bends in and become the same physical representations that you may be in, and then based upon your rebellion or acceptance, that's going to be letting you know, do that same characteristics that you expressing right now, that's similar to the previous one that you only familiar with. Your sister, brother, or siblings may not be, and you might meet a lot of other people who share the same space as you. Y'all got to come back here to know y'all was there and working together as a team. Y'all wasn't there in hell or heaven seeing each other. And if you with the holy ones, that's the only time that concept could kind of be like that, because you could come sounding like me. Other than that, you need assistance in some way, shape, or form, and have to over exaggerate. But you really just in your own mind, and that always shows whoever you was agreeing with that external singular goal. Both of y'all start to compete for that too and shit like that. That let you know all of it is synthetic. Y'all get ready to get up out of here and shit. Like, what's that? Whoever in that type of situation, all of ethnicities, family be doing that with their family, friends, associates, co-workers. Y'all gotta be careful. You know what I'm saying? You probably got greedy one time where you a collection of your friends and family got in one good gig and try to X people, the other family, friends, and associates or tribes out of it for purposes that ain't even had anything to do with it being for real. Like, it wouldn't even be nothing wrong to help. It's for other reasons. Oh, yeah, because, yeah, they act like this. Oh, yeah, remember? Because back in the 4th grade. Oh, yeah, because remember when we all went to church and grandma made, said some stupid shit like that is the reason why you ain't help. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. Y'all be on bullshit. It's some things y'all got to learn kingship about. AKA, when it's time to come together, some shit got to be put aside. When it's time to come together, some shit got to be put aside. When it's time to come together, some shit got to be put aside. Until y'all learn that, y'all be okay. The last time somebody practiced that shit, they got destroyed. You know, Native Americans. Anytime we start practicing that shit, people gotta get destroyed and shit like that. Then anytime it's less percentage scales of Native Americans, it's higher percentage scales of civilized and civilizations and docile energies, and the people just talking real good. You know I'm saying? Real shit, man. Ain't nobody trying to go through no wars, so y'all need to get out of that energy. You know what I'm saying? Get more intelligent. You know what I'm saying? But don't cry for stuff. Like, y'all be crying for dumb shit. Now, look, and this is the stuff you need to be sitting down and thinking about. That other stuff might fade away. You might come into a civilization or something like that where leaves become money. You know what I'm saying? Or something else become money. But you sitting here wasting this life worrying about something that's out of your control. You sitting in this life worrying about something that you can't compete with and things of that nature. So why do you even think there's a mechanism in this world that who gave competing important? And is that even part of the mechanism that got something to do with how you got here and how you left and things of that nature? For an example, when your mother opened her legs for your father, and when your father was with her mother, or whatever the case may be, wasn't no competing going on. You know what I'm saying? Now, whatever synthetic world that you might want to make up and be like, oh, they competed to get with each other, or whatever the case may be. No, you know what I'm saying? Because look, if a female don't want a man, it don't matter what he do and how much he try to compete, he gonna end up in jail. You know what I'm saying? And if a man don't want a woman, it don't matter what she do and things of that nature, goddamn it, he's still gonna be a cheater or whatever the case, and he ain't gonna respect her. So no, at some point there's some situation where goddamn it, at some guard let down energy for any kids to be here. You know, some guard let down energy for any tree to exist. And so that's large on the mechanism. Anything else come after the fact. We got to always kind of compartmentalize. You know what I'm saying? Because it get tricky when you get into that layer of life where things play out more simultaneous. You don't know which one is the which. You don't know if you internal or external. You don't know if you're dealing with the feminine, the masculine. You know, you just got to know you always the center. A center ain't somewhere to be, ain't somewhere to go. You are the center. You are the space. So we all got the objective. Space, time, matter, subjective. Your spirit, your mind, your body. So that wherever you go, there you are. So in a spiritual world, you are that. We go to the, like, your spirit is the space, is the area, parameter, location. Then for the most part, when we get into the mind, that's what you're fulfilling in that cup. And then when it condensed to the physical form, this dealing with all the polarizations and what make us look separate, or space, or there's space in between us that is being fulfilled by all the things we're fulfilling in it, for you to even be like, oh, but it's the space between me and you, but the things that's fulfilling in it is what we're trying to learn. That's the mechanism. That's the second, that's the cyclist system. And you got the layer outside of us, atmosphere, body, then the other layer, your atmosphere, then your body. Then after that, we just all spiritual spaces, and we are controlling that mechanism. So, controlling that mechanism. Now, so Earth is just a platform where each spirit can exercise accumulation from less dense metaphysical forms to condensing physical forms, right? So Earth is just a platform where each spirit can exercise accumulation from less dense metaphysical to condensing physical. And the amount of awareness condensing into attributes shows how long a spirit travels have been among with the collection. So what we doing on Earth ain't the thing, it's how we doing it. And your natures you're creating represent what you're pulling from the great spirit natures, God's natures. So if you can get messages from the holy ones, God's children, the ones that been here, spiritual predecessors. So this goes beyond ancestor with that A term that the Spanglish inverted, to know that your spirit is just a space, and spirit is just a space, and predecessor just means what become for you. You had a lot of spaces that was in the area where your space at that was here before you. That could be your ancestors, your spiritual predecessors that didn't always take the form that you in, and probably already been in the form that you in and been there and done that. So when you're getting messages from the holies, the holy ones, right? That message get passed down through the holy atmosphere and the environment, and the traits that you see out through nature. And then through the holy, it's up for you to decipher if you're seeing God's word or not. That ain't not actually a word, right? So you're speaking God's language. So you could become a holy child down here, and be a great representation, and know how to decipher between what's representative of that or not, to be able to teach others. You know what I'm saying? That's raising yourself up. Now you deserve a feather. But for the most part, those actions will have to be shown, and people will have to look at you, and then you get changed up, not you claiming it yourself. So when you're looking at it within that aspect, right, the amount of awareness condensing into attributes shows how long a spirit travels have been among the collective. So through many lives, you perceive and experience bigger forms, aka mentally will be awarenesses, and physically will be your comprehensive attributes. So different mind, different body, but same spirit, creating these kinds of experiences through concepts of birth, life, and death, aka creation, extension, then deterioration. So look at it better like that if y'all scared of these terms and the meanings that have been put behind these things. Like birth is beautiful, life could be exhausting, death you get in fear. But for the most part, these things are just purely, you know what I'm saying, birth is just concepts of something coming in to existence. Life is just something upholding it, and death is just deterioration. So y'all look at it like that. Don't look at it in the way how y'all be looking at things. So, oh yeah, where am I? Okay, so for the most part, like I said, now it's just different mind, different body, but your spirit size always going to make a familiar version of it. So if you know that you got grace and you lack comprehension in some way, shape, or form, that lets you know that you had grace and you just got out of hell, and it's your decision to play out to change where you just came from. That's why I made a post. There could be a concept where you came from hell spiritually. So when you hear, you bring that on earth and you go back to hell. Now, the more we are expanding and contracting, you get more aware of what you're creating. So if you're more into organ implosion, spiritual evaporation, being in your own world, self-centered world, then when you just came from hell in a lesser stage, that hell going to be in a greater stage because you came back to earth from having grace. But then when you came here, you did the same thing in a more extreme way. So the belief was more rooted. So you add more, a bigger energy of the similar energy that you was just in. So when you die this time, you got more ins and outs of that same place. So you go to that hell for longer periods of time and you realize it's a hell. Like it can become memory now from 1 minute to the next minute. So how you're living life now from 10 minutes ago to 10 minutes later, it'll play out like that, other than you being in a concept of, I don't remember being born and don't remember dying. You created concepts of getting trapped in the metaphysical, but separating from the physical. So you be in a situation where you get in that born energy and get stuck. It never produced as life and then into the death physical world to actually experience it and things of that nature. So you end up getting stuck in a dream where you ain't born or nothing. You just existing. You know what I'm saying? Existing in some shit you created and never getting born. Created your own way to be born and some shit that is in its expiration date and it was already born. You know what I'm saying? And you can't get back in that process, leaving that mind state because it's so thick and foggy. All you can see is yourself and what you're creating and your natures and everything you hide and what you is that's what you're going to do. You're going to meet your Mecca. You're going to meet your Mecca. You're going to meet your earth. You're going to meet your mind condensing as a physical, but it didn't really do it. It did a synthetic version of it. So you already an adult, then one day you're an alligator, one day. So in the spiritual world, it's like you get stuck in your Mecca. You think it's earth, you think it's reality, and it never got to the next mechanism though. It's just you left it in your own participation, your mind, never joining it with God. And God don't like that type of mind, or we all wouldn't be here. God don't like ugly. So if you came from God, you can only see what you created as ugly, and it become a nightmare. It become ugliness. It become even what you thought was beautiful in reverse when you was alive. These things become ugly. What you thought entertained you no longer entertain it. What you thought fulfilled you no longer fulfill you. And you start to realize these are external representations of I was supposed to have a large percentage scale of knowing how to spark these juices for myself. Oh shit! And once you get to that dream, but that lets you know it's too late. You get into spirit evaporation. So you don't want to go to that. You don't want to get there. I'm trying to help y'all. I've been close there, but not being in that energy because I'm part of the holy children. So we create worlds to understand a mechanism to stop spirits from doing that shit. You know what I'm saying? That's like spirits coming, don't know where Legos blocks come from, and then making Star Wars blocks with it and stuff like that. And then I will be the representation of, well, I made the blocks in the first place. So it don't matter what you're making out of the block and trying to convince other people your block is better than their block, or you got your design of a block is the end all and be all. Itself, you lack comprehension of where the blocks come from. You know what I'm saying? And then if I tell you you're part of the engineer of where the blocks come from, you're going to start to realize, oh, I was lost in my creation. I was lost in my own mind. I was lost in my own way of how I made this block, not realizing the mechanism of how the block is here in the first place. So next time, let me treat the whole block mechanism right. So therefore, next time I come, I'm not trying to make no golem blocks, roadblocks, look like something that may only be in my own mind that I get separate from God. I want to be here. So I wouldn't have that idea in the first place that I used to separate myself. You know what I'm saying? You start to look at things naturally, natural processes of things. So everybody can't escape what they do. You're gonna reap what you sow. And it's about how well you're able to do it. And it involves ourselves, and that don't involve others. There could be situations you could play victim and blame others for what you are in. But the more you can attach yourself to what may have you consider for you to be in that circumstance in the first place, the more you can tap into other things that don't even got nothing to do with the situation that you learn in processes and mechanisms. Now, due to the fact of the extreme layers that you didn't participate in, because it's still teamwork makes the dream work, and a lot of stuff you may even have to do based upon just off reaction, it's still at the end of the day, everybody have to reap what they sow. So just as less as you may have to reap what you sow, just as much others that didn't know what they was doing have to reap what they sow, even if what they was doing was directed towards you. You will go through this mechanism enough to know that whatever happened on earth, no matter if it happened, the family, friend, associate, coworker did it to you, was this the platform? You don't have to sit around and think if something negative happened to you and the synthetic concept that you got negative happening, right? That meaning behind it, you don't have to get lost into thinking that have anything to do with the mechanism of how you here in the first place. Because you know how you got here ain't had nothing to do with that. And how you left and things of that nature didn't really have anything to do with that. What motivate us internally is when we externalize ourselves. So let's say if you got robbed or you got hurt and you think that was negative, that still didn't have nothing to do with the situation. Even if you got hurt, what had something to do with the situation was the motivation. Something your family, friend, associate, coworker, or the stranger had internally that had inside of them that put you in a perspective. Either you had something they didn't have, or it was a classification or justification or something like that. And that was the cause. So that's what the person has to deal with, not the external. Even if they was able to harm you and get away with it, that's not what God is looking at as what people get away with or not. You see what I'm saying? And this is how there's even an existence of how people can go through problems on their own that no one knows and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? That's where that come from. That's God showing a person you not necessarily getting away with anything. You're just experiencing things on a small macro scale. For an example, once a person lie, they can't stop. Y'all females know and men know. When y'all was in a relationship with a cheater, before you realized they was cheating, and then you realized they was cheating, there was a lot of situations that led up to it that now you're able to see that you wasn't able to see before because you was in another form of it before the lead up. You see what I'm saying? It play out like that. And then when you actually the cheater and things of that nature, that's the energy that they sucked you in. So you didn't know all these things that they was going through, that you was unrenounced to, even to the areas you thought everything was all good and stuff. And then it took that outcome for you to realize it wasn't. And God was whooping their ass based on the kind of lies they had to create. They probably was losing all kind of jobs and shit, making up ways to make you think that they was still all kind of shit. I'm telling you. God be kicking motherfuckers' asses. You don't know. God, don't nobody know. If anybody did something to you, or if you did anything to somebody, you know. A lot of y'all motherfuckers in jail right now, you know. There's a lot of things the DEA, the CIA, the feds didn't bring up that you know. Regardless of what they did brought up to give you 100 years, there's other stuff that you just know though, like, let me go ahead and chalk it up. Yeah, I can't cry, but all this other shit that they don't even know, I know that this is God hitting me right now, kicking my ass. So let me not go ahead and cry about this, because this, that, and the third, and I could go ahead and know that, yeah, God was looking at that, and I thought I was getting away with that at those times, and this probably got something to do with that, even though I'm in jail for a crime that ain't got nothing to do with those ones I got away with. Trust me, people in jail be having those type of conversations. You better motherfucker believe it. I don't care who you is. You ain't that strong. You ain't no robot like that. Life is life. Ain't nobody robots like that. I don't give a fuck. You could be so hard, supreme feminist all you want, red pill. No, you ain't that hard. You could be extreme murder, drill rapper. I did it in real life 80,000 times all you want. You ain't that hard. I don't care. I get a bunch of game maker. You in the shit. I'm talking about make your spirit calm down a little bit and be like, all right. Yeah, this something to fear a little bit more than goddamn what the fuck I've been putting on them colorful rags and doing native hobbyism, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles around for no reason. I'm saying making people's grandmother cry for no motherfucking reason. You know what I'm saying? Real shit. You know what I'm saying? Y'all get fucking better, then y'all have better outcomes, do what y'all goddamn money and stay out the motherfucker way and stay out of other motherfuckers' business that you get all caught up in shit like that. Then you either on a news channel now or goddamn it on somebody's obituary. I see somebody click the link. All right, let me go ahead and finish it. Now look, check this out. So let me just go ahead and run this. Earth is just a platform where each spirit can exercise accumulation from less dense metaphysical to condensing physical. And the amount of awareness condensing into attributes shows how long a spirit travel has been along the collective birth, life, death circumstance. So through many lives, you perceive and experience bigger forms, aka mentally will be awarenesses as bigger forms. That mean comprehension, mental awarenesses, and physically it would condense as what kind of organ you create, lifespan from that attention span mentally, and physically it would play out as comprehension attributes. So this is why human comprehension attributes is more evolved than an alligator or parasites or leeches. But you have to know they are on that same spiritual space evolution as you. You just took more travels than them. So spiritual travel is birth, life, death. As a spirit, you created more spaceships, minds, and different travels, condensing and becoming thinking as physical forms than them. So they're going to have pieces of you, and you're going to have new pieces that you could train them, but they can't train you, and you can learn from them. The nature wise, not synthetic concept, natural nature qualities of it. You see what I'm saying? This is one of the reasons why the Native Americans emanate things in the atmosphere, but don't get it mistaken if you're looking at it from a distance and think people worship animism or something or some spooky shit. It's giving credence to our natures, and in the holy, the anatomy, and the environment, these are the representations of it. Then the holy will be the mustard seeds, the sperma seeds from it, the pollens before the pollen accumulate and form as these things. So these will be the ancestors of it, the spiritual predecessors of it. And each mechanism, the spirit is inside of it that represents a space, the holy ones. And you're supposed to be a representation because you are a space. So sometimes spirits lower their spaces so much or condense their spaces so much, they separate from the holy ones, still participate in the holy great spirit, holy lands and mechanism, just do it for opposite directions from the great spirit. Do it for very negative, unpeaceful things. You know what I'm saying? Do it for very greedish things and self-centered things. So then we have to keep track of what we're doing. You wouldn't be here if you ain't participating in what the fuck I'm talking about. It ain't the what we do, it's the how. Get on your esoteric horses. Now look. All right, so let me get some magic. So the bigger forms represent when you're going through and perceiving experiences, mentalities, and awarenesses, and physically comprehension attributes. So different mind, different body, but same spirit creating these kinds of experiences through concepts of birth, life, death, aka creation, extension, then deterioration. That's how you should look at birth, life, and death. Extension, birth, creation, birth, extension, life, deterioration, death, and keep a hold of that mechanism before you use one of these as a polarization to jump in and create a synthetic, imploded mind state of it and be in fear and try to run away from a process and then get lost into a mechanism and not a metaphysical and not the physical. And then that's organ implosion or spiritual evaporation. If you do that long enough, having grace, keep coming back, but practicing it harder and harder again. Be careful of that. You'll get stuck in a damn statue and your spirit, that space don't even exist no more. So your spirit can't even motivate other people to deteriorate the statue or make a better statue that would healthier practices. Because your spirit family and everybody who agree with those energies packing together as a soul tribe, being like, we want this to represent this, not that. And then they're changing the energy behind it. So it's no longer harsh and cry. It's laughter and happiness put behind it now. And then the spirit, even if it didn't even evaporate, it might got a little piece of grace left. You save that motherfucker. Get that motherfucker right up out of hell. And give a possibility to come back and say, I'm back, not I'm that. And be like, all right, I want to do this now. You know what I'm saying? Fuck all that other shit. I don't get lost no more. Real shit. To find yourself again, sometimes you gotta lose yourself. Hopefully we don't go that far, that distance, that separation from the great spirit. Had an eye of the ego. Now, and look, and it's always the spirit responsibility to be able to know how to engineer the next form and not get trapped in them, aka natures and desires become the thought clouds of your own soul entrapment that you created without participation of the holy ones or natural nature and species and natures within it and the interactions. We're purely self-centered if you're purely self-centered, when you separate from all those things, which is away from the great spirit God and the ability to be, and the lack of the ability to be born again in any capacity, even in your own mind, you're already going to be experiencing with, you know what I'm saying, it'd be hard for you to spark your own juice in your own mind. You won't look at it as life, and that's life, thoughts and feelings. You will hate every thought and feeling you create, and that's like a nightmare. So you just be going the opposite direction on autopilot, thinking that you're trying to protect more vulnerability and going in right organ implosion and spiritual evaporation, right? So um so like I said, even in your own mind, you're already going to be experiencing with the what put you in that birth, aka the spirit actually in existent in death. So you get born into just the metaphysic that lack the condensing into the physical. So you get born in death, being so rooted on representations that already had the birth, life, and death concept, and you get trapped into the death version of it. And but just the mental concept and all the thoughts you can make about it, and don't want to understand that that's a transition, and it ain't what you see, is how you're looking at it. So your sees where you're coming from as a spirit is so far away from the actual perception of it. You're developing a comprehension spark to even get back to us, maybe so far away. So there's a lot of times you just go the opposite direction. You have to be careful. And so oh shit, let me get up. So even in your own mind, okay, aka spirit existence and definite mechanism. So the spirit is actually existing in death, and the mechanism of it without being able to transition until the spirit gets so small and evaporate, where that space and location of you no longer exists. So that's spirit evaporation, when your spirit, no, your space no longer exists, and can't no other spirit a space find that space to even be in. It's not a space a person could be in anymore. Is a non-existent space a spirit can develop a personification of characteristics in, that develop as thoughts and feelings that could condense and become an awareness or an expression, or through a physical organ playing that out down here. You know what I'm saying? It don't, so that spirit and whatever collection of spirits evaporated, that's how it don't exist no more. But if we could see qualities in let's say the mechanism of the thing we've been doing for long times, that manifests as trees and stuff, and we can see things that harm or can hurt us on these things, we know that once upon a time there were spirits that manifested mentalities, characteristics that manifested at physical forms that did exist, that was negative. They just don't exist no more. You know what I'm saying? That's the last piece of physical form of it, and we might not ever see it in that way anymore. You know what I'm saying? All right, now we got people. What's going down?
Oh, okay, cool. Hey, so I got it. You touched on experience. You touched on tradition. You touched on it's kind of like a Ghostbuster effect, to where if it's not in God's image, then another entity is kind of like in search of those entities to collect, because it's like a different type of energy than God.
You either
I
in your
have.
own mind, you either in your own mind or the great spirit, or you're trying to help the great spirit. So that's like the only the two routes. So I will look at it like that to make it more simple.
Okay.
So when you say gods and stuff, I will look at that more like one's person's mind. That's their god.
Okay. So look, so where you left off though, because I was tracking. So where you left off in my mind was objectivity. So kind of like the difference between, I don't know, like objects that are living but are not human versus objects that are not living and that are just objects. Are those kind of like the caskets and shells of like a
Yeah,
spirit disappearing? Like, you get what I mean? Because if the spirit don't got like the energy thing, they're just totally the metaphysical, which now is
yeah,
like a physical thing, right?
yeah. Once it become that, it came from spirits that was moving. And it's now that's just the last physical representations of it. So we have everything being if it was closer to God or if it was synthetic. The things that we can see that the ones that was more closer to God, that would be part of like the grandfathers. So we would see that in the holy nature in the environment, like mountains, big trees,
Okay.
and
Right.
stuff like that.
Okay. Stuff that could is kind of living an eternal type of existence here in this
Yeah,
realm. Or like not eternal, but like so longer than a human or a person.
right. Because we are these things. So we're making these things as a habitat to live in, like bees. And when we don't treat our habitat, right, we get all over the place, and then the habitat become unstructured, it become unexpansive, and then it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So this is how we even see the land itself, the environment, our worlds, our connection of minds is getting smaller and smaller, and our creativity and the land itself is getting smaller and smaller and smaller for us to even know what to do with it.
Because I didn't want to interrupt you, but is that kind of like when you were saying like the holy mountains and stuff like that? Is that like the difference between like family versus kind of friend? If I
Them
was
the
to
holy
conflate,
families.
huh?
So it's almost like, let's say if you came and you could be a young woman or a young man, but you got more of that grandfather or grandmother quality. Let's use grandfather because it don't matter. We all got these masculine and feminine
Yeah.
traits. So we expand it. If you more tapped into the holy holies, you could play out more of a grandfather and give people, your family or friends, more of that shelter energy than even your friend that's always complaining about their grandfather that wasn't shit and things of that nature. So they had a grandfather physically, but the spirit of their grandfather didn't have the holy natures to it. So they couldn't
Right.
find it in nature in some way. So they was detached from the holy ones in general. But that's how we
Right.
find messages through the holy ones.
Okay. So then to bring it lighter, if you are just dealing with, I guess, some third dimension, he say, she say, things getting clicky. I was once comfortable in this space, but now I'm not comfortable in this space. Then you expand, but you do it in a harmonious manner,
Hold on,
or
what
do
you
you
saying?
like force it? Or you just tap into, okay, so let's say, like, to bring on a lighter note, because I think it's coming the answer to me already just talking through it. But like, so if you on like a night lighter note, like you in some third dimensional, he say, she say, he don't, it's getting clicky, and a space you were in that you used to be comfortable in, you're not as comfortable no more. So is it best to like leave that space, stay in that space and try to make it, or stay in that space and try to make it harmonious based off of the shadow work, which would be like tapping into your grandfather energies?
I would say it's we always got two routes because we always the equilibrium. So and then the two routes could play out as one being lower octave, two routes, and then what we do is how we do it. We can still go those two routes, but it could be the more positive way of it. So we could either make the, let's say it's like an esoteric group home. We can make it everything all cool, so the bully stop being a bully, or the girls stop picking on other girls or something like that. Or it could be a situation where we start to separate the kids because this group of kids don't get along with this kids, or this bully can't stop bullying because they need some more shadow work. They might need a psychologist or something like that. So I like to look at everything like we make up the environment like a bee nest, and then we become the bees in that environment. And let's say we all come out the water. So let's say you from the holy, you know what you want in and out of your space, your atmosphere, to make your environment peaceful. So when we take it to the holy holies, that would be even the spirits that came before you, right? If you was born out of that river and that land, your ancestors is the ones that even produce the mountains and stuff like that. So let's say in concept of another spirit might can't think right, like you were saying the spirit might be confused and stuff like that. It might be using its own thoughts, and where its spirit at interacting with another spirit, a collection of spirits that might be on agreement, that might not be in an agreement in some way, shape, or form, but not knowing that that's the type of conversation that's happening. So it might be a situation where either make right with the spirit that's there in the holy holies, or you're never going to be able to think right in that space. So you probably got to go back to your block where your gang like you, and not that block where that gang got, or that block where, you know what I'm saying, you feel more comfortable because you know when you're on vacation or wherever you somewhere at, you can't do all the stuff you can do when you at your crib and you can lay around naked. You know what I'm saying?
So not so much like trying to be a Knight Templar and change the situation to what the person individually wants for the whole group, but like basically the betterment of the group. And then if you're not in that space, then perhaps, like if I was that person, then I'll be like, okay, well, shoot, I come up with the shadow work and all that, and I come up to the equation that I'm the issue. So then it's
What?
the best thing to
I,
remove
I,
myself.
let's say we the teachers, because I like to look at solutions and equilibrium. If we was the teachers, I would like to put everything in a counterpartmentalized. I would base it on soul tribe energy. So it don't matter who's mixing or who the bully. Everybody who like to do this type of thing, create a classroom for that in the group home. So all the bullies in the classroom, all the nerds in this classroom, all the people who like to just be class clowns in this classroom, and therefore it ain't what we do, it's how we do it. So we know it's always going to be a class clown, no matter the tribe, the spiritual group, or whatever. It's always going to be a bully, no matter the. So it ain't really, it
And
ain't
that
really that. It's really,
encouragement, yeah.
yeah, we could just blend it all in of having to work together or having to separate. That's like a choice thing. It's really like an equilibrium we all can find. Just everybody find their trait and then have a box for that.
But we all cool with each other, so it's kind of like if some outside entity come around, we what's the word, we like mutable, or like like multifaceted enough to, as a one group though, to deal with a
Yeah.
bunch of different things that
Yeah,
come
like
at us.
yeah, because we can see like all the class clowns. If they all in one classroom, then all the different let's say even ethnicities or all the different spirit tribes and stuff.
Spectrum.
If they all the class clowns in one classroom, they're doing whatever the teacher is coming up, a new type of teaching for them. So it ain't really that room is a class clown room. They all learning some new stuff for them. They might all grow up to be comedians or something like that. Then boom, you got the bullies. They all in the classroom. They ain't all about to bully each other. So they all just in the classroom of learning, oh, what does this mean? So now the bullies ain't in the classroom with the class clowns and the nerds to bully the nerds, and the nerds be distracted by the class clowns, and the class clown trying to please the bullies. You know what I'm saying? It's like it won't be no confusion.
So at no point then are we trying to, okay, so don't focus on, so okay, so then the focus ain't really on trying to make the different elements per se like get along with each other. It's just like keeping them.
Elements. How would you say elements? If we looking at that astrology, well, if we say, let's say if that's tribe or whatever case may be, or hmm, let's
Yeah,
say, all
because I
right,
mean, if you break down
everybody talking
everybody
about,
into,
let's say this, hold on. So you said everybody
you
is
want me to tell you how I was thinking of,
you,
because
you
you
know what? I
basically
think
saying
no,
different
I
groups
get what
of,
you're trying to say. Is
yeah.
it the clicking kind of throwing me off? But I get
Oh,
what you're trying to
sorry.
say. I would look at it like this. One of the main problems is um let's say we got a workroom. Now, the authority that the manager may do on the employees or the other district managers, I think that's the problem. It might be something the employee do that their way of doing it make their job better, but them stopping what they do to make their job better, I think all those become the problems and stuff like that. So even if we want to take that into history and stuff, like how they did us Native Americans, they made us stop our practices and stuff. And that became issues, even what made the free man African Americans and stuff, where every other ethnicity who's trying to find peace is trying to do it in this way. Hey, it ain't even about our practices. This is the things we could come all together at. This other stuff is unnecessary. So I think that would it kind of could we could piggyback off that a little bit back off your point. I think yeah, that part you saying that leads to problems. I think what leads to more healthier stuff where the stuff that we is giving importance never is really a matter in the first place, and it can
Agree.
lead to more peaceful energy.
Okay, thank you. I just had those. I was talking on my social media about this subject, and so when you started talking about it more, I always get more information before I spread information, so I could be just more assured when I do it, because I just do it in a way where I'm like, hey, this is me, this is my journey. You can learn from this, but I'm not telling y'all to do it this way. But if you know. picking up what I'm putting down. So thank you. That added clarity
Oh,
for me.
shit.
I appreciate it.
Oh, shit. Shout out to Simone. Yeah, fix the microphone and shit. Yeah, because I live in the hood. I like to look at it simple like this. I went through a lot of experiences in this lifetime where it's like, now look, okay, I got a studio right now. I stopped this long time ago. Every now and then, if I trust somebody, it don't mind. If it's family, I don't care. But it's kind of like you could like see things like stories when you might hear other rappers explain when they was in the studio with Dr. Dre, and Dr. Dre make them do it 1,000 times or something like that. Never released the record. Now that's one thing. But then when you're hearing stuff like that, right? And then let's say you wise like me, and then you could see many of these situations, even when you at other people's studios and seeing certain pressure dumped on certain people, even a person that's more of the artist than the other person who probably put more money into equipment or something like that, right? And then even I extend that knowledge, use that same mechanism even to what I'm doing. So I don't even step on people's toes too much and even see from a distance if I even want to have this problem or not. That's why I know I got to be trustworthy. But the whole point of it is you can sometimes be in a situation where, yeah, you got your 1-2 together more than someone who may be talented, but then you can express your way to get them certain pressure that if they don't have that sense of freedom and the thing that build them up to actually get in that booth, right? Sometimes you block the situation and then you could kind of see, block their creative inspiration spiraling, and you could kind of see how that could be an early seed to week later, month later, after getting in there while the get was good, it may take a few years later, but you will start to see how motherfuckers start having animosity with each other. And you can start to see how the main starting point of the rapper or the singer will be like, man, because I feel smothered. They try to have me do it a certain way. Now, even replace that with how they're starting to complain with whatever they got they 1-2 together to get them there, and they feel like it was being blocked. That could be a religion. That could be that could be like a motivation. That could be like anything of that nature. But anytime you put somebody in a space, that kind of space, that be the beginning of problems. And remind you, if, when let's say Dr. Dre made that more important, it probably could have been songs that millions could have been made that wasn't released yet. And if they was to release it now, nobody really would care about it and shit like that. You see what I'm saying? Where in all actuality, I'm pretty sure if you was to ask one of these artists that was in the studio with Dr. Dre, that's more on a percentage scale of being perceived as negative when they explain it, other than positive. And they might try to pull a little positive out of it. Well, yeah, I'm with a pioneer. I'm learning to do vocal better and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's going to be more on a percentage scale of being seen as negative. And some motherfucker, we could have made a few $1 million, man. We going to release that song, bitch. You know what I'm saying? So at some point, right, replace that even with a concept of seeing that outcome in other mechanisms. Dr. Dre ain't got no business even taking that same energy up out of the studio and trying to prevent someone from getting a 1-2 together where, you wouldn't even be interested in that person in the first place, regardless of what you knew what they do, for them to have that talent, for you to have your eye on them, to get ready to sign them and things of that nature. So it is about interaction too. How far does go? We know if something's going to be solidified or not. For an example, right? When some actually take course, we know homegirl who was running track, and Papoose, goddamn Remy Ma Part 2, and Remy Ma just got cheated on by Papoose Part 2 type of situation, where they both got suspended based upon getting found positive for marijuana. But yet, we wouldn't even know they took marijuana and things of that nature and shit like that, because it's not even a physical effect, because she was still whooping off in people's asses, knocking bitches out, and homegirl still goddamn winning everything, being a fast nigga cheetah and things of that nature. Diva, nigga cheetah, diva. So for the most part, she still winning races and shit like that. So it took that test to come back positive for her to get suspended. Yet they're taking steroids, and we can actually physically see how people start to lose their edges and they go on vacation and shit like that. And then their waistline start to become Grandma Medea, you know what I'm saying, at the age of 27 when they just got in and shit like that. And the high school picture and the goddamn college and goddamn career picture look not slightly different, just all different. You know what I'm saying? You got the drunk auntie and grandma in one college and then goddamn it motherfucker career. Then you got your nice young female and shit with all her edges attached to her forehead shit, high school and junior high. Then you gotta start thinking about this shit. You know what I'm saying? You gotta start thinking about this shit. Wait, we seeing physical results and effect that this don't seem like nothing to be around, but at some point, so yeah, you got to put it in the same concept. Sometimes we give too much importance to something that ain't got nothing to do with nothing, that we destroy a whole system. Like shit, track and meet or goddamn female boxing could be destroyed based upon bitches don't want to get suspended from smoking weed, yet them only hoes knocking bitches out to make us want to watch it. You know what I'm saying? Or make anybody who doing sports. We only go watch it if they know how to jump the basketball shot, do the field goal or not, and shit like that. Shit. So whatever that they doing that don't prevent them from being able to do it. Shit, whatever. Have at it. Other than that, we get to see physical results and shit like that. Wait a minute, that look like that's the true mission to fight. Other than that, I think humanity be bullshit. I think humanity be worried about the wrong shit. I'm about to add you. I'm just trying to get it right. Yeah, I think humanity sometime down the line practice bad business and fuck shit up. We can see why everybody always fuck up their own shit. You know what I'm saying? Where everybody damn Wall Street's gone. Where everybody mounts gone. You know what I'm saying? Where everybody common sense gone. You know what I'm saying? Real shit. Where everybody mind gone. Where's everybody land gone? You know what I'm saying? Real shit. I'm gonna keep 100. I had to throw one in there. I had to throw one in there. This is a peaceful video for everybody though. I just had to throw that one in there real quick. I had to throw that one in there real quick. I had to throw that one in there real slick and quick. Then we'll start at people. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? Let's get into the spiritual transitions and understanding the natures of things, even if you don't see it physically in the holy in front of you first. You know what I'm saying? So you might not see it through the representation of your physical grandma, grandpa, mother, auntie, uncle, nieces, nephews, and things of that nature, and siblings and second, third, fifth cousins off the boat, or however the case may be. You might not be able to see it through a plant, a flower, a tree branch. You know what I'm saying? The way the river flow, the way the cloud is moving, the angles of the sun and the moon. You might not be able to see it through these things of that nature and stuff like that. But at some point, right, you know it's always there. And you are not alone. We are the children. Well, I don't even know what you say. No, I'm saying somebody else wrote it. Somebody always writing somebody else shit like that. That, you know what I'm saying? Get passed down some shit like, yeah, say this and this sound cold because you just some damn new guy. You don't know what you're talking about. So just say this. Just to take over the world. And that's it. Other than that, tell me why NFL players exist and shit like that. Tell me why NBA players exist. Oh, I'm saying real shit. You got sometimes you gotta think. Y'all don't be think. It's like y'all be having mental illnesses sometimes. Y'all don't know how to think. Tell me why a rapper exists. Oh, but tell me why actor or actress exists. Oh, but motherfucker. Coming to a movie theater near you. Better motherfucker believe it. Your tax dollars gonna go somewhere, bitch. You better believe it. You better believe it. What's going down?
What's up, Uriel? You can hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
What's up? I didn't want to get you off track or anything, but it was more so about like the new moon and like ways to, I guess, plant new seeds around this time. I listen to you a lot, and I love your, what you give and everything, but I just feel like I get lost too much in what you say than rather like doing it and thinking what practical ways to do it. Does that make sense?
All right, so let's make it make sense. Now, when we're speaking in from the spiritual holy concept, that's the metaphor, that's the parable. And then for everyone to make their own practice and ritual, so it's not like they're copying. For an example, if I'm teaching you about a diet, it ain't you taking my same diet, but you might take the same time I do it. So this how you don't have to travel online and be like, okay, what I do now, you'll look at the access of the energy and be like, oh, let me do my version of this. So you might not even got everything that you might even hear other people say, but you might got a representation of the same energy. For an example, new moon is in Pisces. You could generalize it as mutable water. Being mutable, being able to adapt to your own and other people's emotions. Water mean emotions. Mutable means separating or being adaptable. Because fixed means condensing. Cardinal mean initiating something new. So, that's the foundation of the knowledge. So you already know what we're reacting to some newness of is that energy, aka some new emotion that everyone seemed to agree with, that some people may start to disagree with if they started to agree with it, or if people disagree with something first, they may disagree with it. So that's going to put you in the energy of, oh, this is what we're calling delusion, or this is what we're calling someone need a straitjacket. So now the seed that you could play out in action, like, okay, now what do I want to do to make sure I'm on the most positive end of the situation? So whatever you're already doing as your purpose, you're going to add that quality to it and add up and separate from all the negative possibilities that could come from it because you're aware of it, and then act on all the positive qualities that you can do with it. Even if the star's not aligning, you know how to miss those darts that might be get shot at you, aka somebody might look at you like you need a straitjacket. So that could be anything. Let's say if you're making music, anything dealing with business, entertainment, education, religion, or politics, you know that what you get ready to show could throw someone off emotionally or make somebody cling on emotionally. And depending on if you accept it or not, you could think this person see you as a delusion, or you see the situation as a delusion, or you could see it as this being creative. And now I'm glad I added this on because now I could perceive or go on what I'm doing. So I would look at it like that. All of our practices would be individual.
Because that's what I really try to like separate from, not getting too lost on what you're saying, like follow that completely, because I'm still my own person, so I want to be able to see what I can see for myself. So that makes sense. The practicality of that though, like when you talk about like letting things go that don't serve you in a way, like can you do that in a physical way? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like
that's my
would that
point.
be
Like
meditating?
see that was my point of separating from the what and the how. So it won't be me telling you the actual diet, but it'll be me telling you would make up your own diet at that time. For an example,
Okay, now I get it. Yeah.
For an example, the question you just asked, I can answer it, but then now it'll be me getting personal.
Your
So
way.
let me answer it then. So for an example, based upon what I just said, this how I'm doing it in my chart. Now, I got Pisces in the 8th house. Since I make music and I get online and things of that nature, the way I'm about to express this energy is being more mutable or acceptive to other people's ways of feeling about things that deal with religion or spirituality, because I know I talk, I'm an orator. So let me be more relatable other than Aries and warlike combat. So that's why the past few live streams, I've been more about relationships and stuff like that. Then when it comes into my 8th house, is how I look at things behind closed doors, even how I need to get rid of my own type of stuff that might be holding me back, and I can rise again as a phoenix. And those is the things I'm changing how I feel about, so I can start acting on them differently. And then it's playing out through the songs that I'm making, and then my live streams, like how I've been making these relationships and how I've been kind of talking about religion and stuff like that from a more of a collective, other than I'm in this space and fuck what y'all doing. So that's why you see Pan Indian and my. So all of that is my actions that I'm doing, and then the results going to show me if I'm doing better or where it's been already showing me that's the way to do it, other than negative ways. And that let me know that if I'm washed up under the current or not.
You're riding your own wave kind of thing. That makes sense.
So that's my
learn how to surf, like how you used to say. Learn how to surf type shit. Right. Okay, I get it now. Because that makes sense, because it was Sagittarius season on a Aquarius moon. I said to myself, because it was so early, it was still around a new moon, I said to myself, all right, since it's Aquarius and things move a little faster around this time, Aquarius moon, if I say I'm gonna do something, I have to do it within the first 5 minutes of saying it. I have to get up. I can't just sit there. I have to get up and actually do it. If I say, hey, I'm gonna do this today, start it right now within the first 5 minutes. So then when Aquarius came, I was much more productive. Like I did things quicker. I was like moving around the house, and they're like, yo, why are you moving so fast? And it's like, because I already put that in that moon-like energy. I said within the first 5 minutes, I got to get up. So when Aquarius season came, I was just moving fast. So I get what you mean, where it's like you find your own little ways of like getting through.
Here's the kicker. Everything we do with our body is the ritual and spell. So what we do is how we do it. A lot of people just do a lot of bullshit rituals and spells. So they spirit be in a certain space, then they create their witchcraft. Whatever we create on our mind, then that play out through our actions, our ritual and spell, and our body and hands always doing a symbol. When we want somebody to pay attention to something, whether we use an object, we point, that's our Harry Potter, goddammit, magic wand thing. We're making someone pay attention to what we're paying attention to in our spiritual space. So we only got a couple of ways of making other spirits be able to do that. We could do fear. We could do interest, similar common interests. Other than that, we all be in our spiritual space and can't convince nobody to be interested in what we in, not even our feelings. So it's kind of like that. You know what I'm saying? We just all using our little our body itself is the ritual and spell. Now, when you get cold at this, you end up developing cold ass rituals and shit that other people will look at and even over exaggerate like this something more than what it is. And it can be that. But that's the natural template of it, whatever we do with our body. So even me, like when I just broke that down, that even go deeper what I do physically. It might be some ornaments, crystals, and gems that represent more the Pisces energy than other shit. Like I'm not gonna have no citrine on right now. You know, it's new moon in Pisces. Why would I have a citrine on? No, that's dealing more. I wear that on Leo time or something like that.
That's sun.
Or I'm trying to do something else. You know what I'm saying? So that's the practice.
Okay.
So even my songs, I know I'm making it more 8th house like. So it's gonna get put more meat onto the album than if I was just all over the place. And then I know if I hear that song the next day, I'm be like, oh, this is some bullshit childish surface level song or whatever the case may be. That mean I'm already off.
You off track. And I noticed that with your songs too. It feels like deeper, like on that like Scorpio like level that you're saying, that eighth house area, but you feel things pulling out of that. Like it's dope. I like your new album too. It's fire.
Appreciate that. Real shit.
All right, thank you.
Yep, shout out to Seven Legend. Real shit. But yeah, that physical practice, that's anything you do with your body, the mind, what you develop on your mind, that's the witchcraft. And anything you do with your body that emanate that becomes the ritual and spell. And the spirit problems is we just practice too much bullshit rituals and spells. Your day to day, being Beavis and Butthead, that's a stupid ritual and spell. Because spiritually, what's on your mind as a witchcraft that you're not looking at it like that. Learn that words is just pointing to experiences. So separate to look at these as equilibrium before you get lost in a polarization and start to justify a decision or how you interacted with it before you be doing it anyway. We all experiencing how you experiencing and doing these things is the problem. When you look at it, witchcraft, your spirit is a witch because it's a magician. Witch, wizard, whether you want to be a man or a woman, it emanate thoughts and feelings. And if you're a spirit, you got both of those attributes. Being a wizard is get ready to create some light or white magic. Being a witch is get ready to create some dark or black magic. So light, white, just being more external, utilizing something outside of you, even your mind, from the spiritual lens, and dark and black is just dark magic and black magic, that's just internal. That's using more of the feminine, right? Using something that you can be in, but some outside may not represent that, and things of that nature. So it's like isolating yourself within. So when you think about witch, you're crafting, that's what you're crafting together, and things of that nature. So when you're crafting together a mentality, even when you're putting together words represent a meaning, and that meaning represent what you're spiritually experiencing. So when you understand that, when you knit together these symbols and signs and mental constructs and inside of your numinal, that you're crafting something together. You know what I'm saying? You're crafting a link to another link. So you can know where that link came from, know where you at within the link, and know where the link is going. You know what I'm saying? So a dog went up the street. So that's an experience. Your spirit witnessed something. Mentally, that was a thing of experiences. And then been down in the physical, it was before we named it a dog going up the street. You just experienced it. Now you created words so you can encapsulate it and always go back to that meaning. Oh, this what it means. So even if I seen this sentence, a dog went up the street, I probably never seen the dog go up the street in my life, but I could know what it mean based off these words, because spirits had these experiences before, but they was just faster to make a language to make a representation for that experience before me. So when you're looking at these things within that concept, it puts you in a more broader perspective of things. So you don't get lost, and you can see when others is doing this wrong or right, or being a fool underneath these things, or upholding these things, or using it for a sense of ego to be an authority figure over others, where none of that mean anything, but you can see where it means everything, and be able to always be the medicine man or medicine woman. So when it's a witchcraft, when you crafting these things together, it automatically become a ritual and spell when you develop motivation. When the mind bend in and become adrenaline and make your organs do something, that's the witchcraft automatically becoming the ritual and spell when you get motivated. And once you start to do things, you created a witchcraft. Let me move my right arm. Then you get motivated and move your right arm. You did the witchcraft. You did the ritual and spell of the witchcraft that you was practicing. The witchcraft was what was on your mind. I want to move my right arm. Then you practice the ritual and spell, moving your right arm. Now you don't practice what you preach. If it was on your mind, I want to move my right arm, but you convince another people in reality, and you moving your left knee. You know what I'm saying? Now, let's say you did that to rock somebody to sleep because moving your left knee was a talent to make people get a lot of money, and to make you get a lot of money. And then for the most part, but on your mind, you was convincing people it was you moving your right arm in some way, shape, or form. You get ready to go to hell because in your life, how you got here, your mother said you right armed or you left armed or something like that. And that's your left kneecap and that's your right kneecap. So that's how you got here. Anything you made up in your own mind and that you plucked from this world to even come up with that idea, that's organ implosion. You get ready to do spiritual evaporation. So have fun. I'm saying real shit. Oh, it's going down.
You can hear me loud and clear?
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't see that the thing wasn't lit up, so I thought wasn't nobody on there no more. I'm glad I checked it. It was going down though.
Nothing much. I just wanted to get a little bit of edification. I was gonna say, you said about basically how you always say like basically how like we all coming back and shit like that, and how like that's heaven, and then being lost in the mind is a hell. Are you meaning as far as all of us coming back, like in these physical bodies, over and over and over again forever? Or are you meaning as far as like
Think
you
about
expand and like?
but
Oh, go ahead.
see, but when we think about these bodies, we got to put it in context. So let's put ourselves in another species' shoes. That's why I'm glad Walt Disney made this movie. I don't know if Walt Disney made it. All dogs go to heaven. Because from the native spirit, when you look at it in this concept, right, for a dog to leave a group of animals and then start to learn the traits of its of a human, then when that spirit died, it had more traits. It used its own dog mind and body to interact with some new shit, a human mind and body, and the joining of two energies create another one. That spirit can expand and contract larger than the group of animals it was. That's not pets. And then for the most part, that spirit can become a human in the next form. So actually becoming a human is a dog going to heaven, not a dog going to a place that humans could go to, alligators could go to, where we all the spirits creating a mechanism to be here experiencing this transition, or us, we wouldn't even be able to experience other species. Everybody would just be one type of species.
It's just like basically like you saying like you was a dog, but that's the same thing like if any animal, right? Like a lizard or a critter or a rabbit, and then like a human being may be what you could consider is like a higher vessel, but really it's just like you said, like more expanded, more comprehension and shit.
Yeah, so that's
It
like
could evolve and go to one of our bodies.
right. So you can look at it like a spiritual root race of the humans was closer to the holy ones based upon all their interactions and spirits coming back and lifting other spirits up. They was more on a travel and closer to the holy ones than spirits that's just now becoming aware and already being born within an atmosphere full of assistance. That's similar to the one that they spark on their own, and then it condensing with the teamwork makes the dream work, them joining the party and then coming up with their own form. Teamwork makes the dream work. I mean, the joining of two things creates something new. The assistance of we already left, and then their new energy. So if we was a fish, we was something like a fish. These fish that's coming now is something like what we once was.
So like the level, not to be specific, but you could say like the level above us as far as like, you know, there's a dog or animal, then you have a human, then we the next, and then the level after us would be what you be pointing to is like atmospheres.
Right.
How you say it? Atmospheres, right?
Right. And that's how we get into the 4 holy beings, the 7 to 12 holy beings, all of them. That's what they teach us.
And then what I'm realizing now is like, so basically, I ain't trying to get too far, right? But like basically, it's like
Now we get into it. This live stream is already deep.
Okay, bet. So basically, like it's multiple levels of atmospheres too. Like the same way you got animals, because I was talking about homeboy the other day. Like you got like all these different animals. Like you got smaller animals, but these all just still animals, right? Like you got like the lizards and shit, the smaller creatures. You got like, you know, but then you also got like rabbits, and then you might have a motherfucker higher than that, like a lion. They got a little bit more comprehension, and then you finally make it to being a human. And then you got different levels of humans. I was telling them I never thought about it. Like you got, I'm not trying to call nobody dumb, but technically you got like dumb humans, people that don't know as much. And then you got motherfuckers that's like in between, where they may not be as comprehensible as motherfucking like a brother polite or somebody highly intelligent to be able to manipulate and get their way in life. But they smart enough to kind of get their one too. And then you got the motherfuckers like that, or like you, or like us, who are more what you would consider advanced. It's the same way with atmospheres and shit, with different like levels within them too.
Yeah, I like to look at it like an esoteric Babylon when I'm traveling. So look at the space as how we will look at locations down here. That will be each space, right? And then each location represent a group of spirits, spiritual root races, because we are micro spaces. So all of us as a collection would make up that whole space and location and things of that nature. So I will look at it like the whole space and location that make deers. That would be like if we was looking at a map, a certain city. So them group of spirits haven't been here as long, so that's a small city. And let's say the city that the human spirit is a big city and things of that nature. But if we looking at this, let's say even an American map, it'd be like that. In the spiritual world, we don't go nowhere. We always where we are, interacting with each other, either expanding our space with forms to fulfill it or shrinking it up. And that's when angels come in to that have been doing that cycle longer than other spirits that share the spiritual root race, just became aware a little after to teach them that you're doing organ implosion. You gotta do organ expansion to keep the city growing, to keep the space growing, to keep God, so God could come alive and have better organs efficiently and things of that nature. And so I will kind of look at it like that. So if we putting it in this concept, the next form will be atmosphere. That atmosphere city will be bigger than the human city.
Okay, bet. That also lead me to think, like, you know how you talk about like thoughts and shit like that, and thoughts and all that shit. Are thoughts and thought waves, like, are they considered atmospheres too, or would you say no?
You said thoughts is atmosphere. The collection of thoughts is the atmosphere. So think about it like this: if your mind condense and become an organ, then you're just making less dense forms that's more comprehensible. This what makes you not as big as a less sea creature. And sometimes it play out like if we want to consider physical man versions of density levels and stuff like that. But comprehension mentally let you know how heavy or how light your mind is. So you more light and more well-rounded. That lets you know everything in reverse. You a bigger form, just a lot of micro things that's clustered together. That's how the mental world works. And then you could create more sufficient forms, even if it's not heavier than, let's say, a gorilla or something like that. But your comprehension and your way you structure your organs will be a lot more sufficient. So it's kind of like the collection of thoughts and feelings always condense as the physical. So thoughts and feelings will be atmosphere, and then it condense and become an environment.
Okay, bet. And I mean, you said I could go deep and shit, so I'm gonna just ask a question. But when you talk about, like, okay, we talk about it being that's in the atmospheric body or whatever like that. Obviously the comprehension is much greater, right? But they don't technically, like, they don't think the same way we think, right? Because when we talk about, like, oh, we're third dimensional beings and having access to like fourth dimensional energies and thinking and shit. But if a being actually is that being, or let's just say they soul, their spirit is inhabiting those vessels at the moment, then technically they're not really like thinking the same way we are, right? Like the same way like we
Nah,
think
yeah,
about shit.
same way a human ain't thinking like a monkey, but everybody doing they participation. Now, if it become button heads, that's one thing. If it becomes something that everything is in a cohesive nature, then that's another thing. So for an example, humans could train animals, because we got to generalize it. Human could train animals, but animals can't train humans, and atmospheres could train humans, but humans can't train atmospheres. Yet everybody kind of doing they want to. So that kind of be like the holy ones, the forms that's taking the atmospheres that we see condensing and become the environment, that the lesser ones could come in and play their role.
Cause you know what it kind of reminded me of, which this was a serious question I had the other day too, that I was gonna ask, but this was some shit that I was gonna ask about dreams, because I know we talked about this shit before, but I was trying to realize, like, you know, like, you probably have them too. You know those dreams that you have when it's like you have those dreams that are like more pleasant, like they're more blissful, or just say it's a situation where shit ain't as much dense, like you probably can float or some shit, and shit don't seem as heavy. But then sometimes, like, you have them dreams that's like real, like low vibrational, like like a heavy current and shit like that, or you probably down here doing some shit you are doing your way. Like, how can I tap back into that space? Because, like, I'm kind of getting to a point now, I'm kind of tired of having like these I want to say like these like lower earthly ass, low vibrational ass dreams. I remember a time when, like, I was having dreams that was like lighter and shit, and even like the shit that be in my mind in the dream, it was like some less dense shit. Like, you don't even think it's hard. Whereas now the dreams I'm having, it's like kind of like when I'm everyday woke and shit. Like, I don't know, but
Right. Now, here's the thing. There's always two layers, because as a spirit, the two layers is the seed we create, the mentality, and then it accumulate as a tree physically as experiences and things of that nature. So the reason there's a mechanism to this, like we can do this at will when it comes to if you want to have a heavy dream or you want to have a light dream. Creating heaviness just means a spirit emanating a whole lot of thoughts and feelings and harnessing it in one area. right? So you have a focus, and you add a whole bunch of thoughts and feelings to that one thing you only care about. And if you go too far in that lead into depression before you even go to sleep. But for the most part, if not that night, the next night or whatever the case may be, you will start to experience that type of dream where your spirit feel heavy. You're just in the foggy part of your world, like the micro version that God give us all ability to experience as an organ implosion. Not one that go to the hell one, but just one that we get to do because we all learn it and stuff. And anytime you want to have a light dream or feel like you flying, you got to have a lot of experiences where you're letting go a lot of thoughts and feelings and stuff like that. So you don't have a main focus. And that get tricky too, because we're doing everything in reverse. We got to make sure we don't create a synthetic version. For an example, let's say if I cheated on my chick, I ain't got no chick right now, but let's say if I cheated on my chick, and I know how she would feel and I know how I feel. So that's a thought right there. But then I jump in and create thoughts and feelings that make me feel like not to care about that. Them still created thoughts and feelings and shit like that. So it's truly not me separating from it, or I wouldn't even be in a situation manifested physically to have to separate from anything at all. It's creating a synthetic pill, making myself think I separated from it, but really I jumped into my own mind in some way, shape, or form. So a lot of times that's another way too, going back to your point.
Okay, hey, that I had that thought too, so I'm glad you brought it up because that make a lot of sense, 100%.
Yeah, so it's like, so you'll still add on depression. So you might got it physically that she don't know, she might not know I'm cheating, but I have dreams of, I'll probably have a couple of dreams of me getting caught. You know what I'm saying? I'll probably have a couple of dreams of me waking up in cold sweats and I ain't even wake up yet. Then when I wake up, I ain't sweating at all. I thought I got caught. You know, I'll be having all kind of dreams and shit before I got caught.
Yeah, this should be going deep and shit. And I forgot the other shit I was gonna ask, but oh yeah, that's what it was. So basically, like I think that go back to even what you said before one time when you had mentioned about we was talking about the natives. I think it was a while lives back, probably like last month or so. It's about the natives and shit, and then I brought up meditation. And you was talking about, yeah, like that's why the natives always did that because they want to keep themselves lighter and shit. And so, but basically, not now I'm gonna go deep, or I may think I'm going deep, but not really going deep. But this like some real like what you consider, I think, adept shit. So basically, that shit what you talking about with like meditating and that's how you able to like to be lighter and shit. That shit that the people be pointing to and shit like with their Masonic drawings when they talk about like they have like the 7 chakras, but then like they'll have like the 7 chakras above the 7 chakras, and they'll call those chakras that are outside the body your outer or higher chakras that you tap into. So like, is this what they pointed to? Because I heard one time where it was like the more you meditate, people don't understand like even though meditate is a state of clairvoyance and nothingness, you're still building. You're how did they said like you're still expanding an awareness of something, and the more you expand that awareness of nothingness, that's actually like because you can't call it something, but you know what I'm trying to say, because
Right.
you are kind of
See,
like expanding an awareness in a sense of nothingness the more you do it.
um, I hold on, because that kind of threw off the first point you said. You said if you expand on awareness, well, what'd you
Like
say at the
when
last
people
part?
be because I know it sounds ramble, like basically like when people be meditating, right? Like like
Yeah.
a person that like when if you first do like 1 or 2 minutes of meditation a day, like that's very small on a percentage level of clairvoyance. But then but then over time, say you start meditating like all throughout the day and shit, like you're building a bigger orb of that clairvoyant space, basically is what I'm trying to
Right.
say, right? That's the
Oh
best way to
yeah.
say it.
Right. Right. Yeah. You're doing. And now it's not synthetic. You're actually doing a mechanism. And then you're figuring out mechanisms that don't even have to be physical that you still see play out in nature. And then when you do these things, you're always on the right side of energy. You know what I'm saying? So even when you're wrong somewhere, you're still right because you plan out that energy with morality. So anything that may not know what they're doing in that energy, you'll be able to save the caterpillar, the lost family member, however the case may be.
So basically, like
Yeah.
this how people be like going like, because I'm not trying to get lost. I know my words. I'm knowing my words is lost right now, but I'm purposely using it. I'm saying like that's how people. This how motherfuckers be going to heaven and shit. Like when they basically, it don't have to be through meditation, but that process of clearing out their thoughts and feelings all the time, you basically building a orb of constantly doing that shit. And then when they die, like that's some shit that they take with them, so they don't have to be like heavy, right? As opposed to a motherfucker that always got all this shit on them and weight on them, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The more you light, the more creative, the more you can actually see messages from the holy ones. The more you distracted, the more you encapsulated in things. And I gotta turn you up a little bit too. But the more you encapsulate, oh, it's already up. The more you encapsulated and stuff, the more you create a synthetic version of what we already doing anyway. You just think you might be intelligent for maybe the staying away from a caterpillar, other than seeing a caterpillar way and how that could play out in your life that ain't got nothing to do with the caterpillar. You know what I'm saying? You might be scared of spiders. So you come up with more intelligent ways to get away from a spider, other than taking the ways of a spider and seeing how that play out in actual life. And you can still be scared of spiders, but always knowing that equilibrium. So your that's the meditative mode without even you meditating. It's like you're in the mechanism of what it means to meditate, when people even have to meditate because they have to clear out all the thoughts. You're always in a space of knowing that, oh, I can collect thoughts. So even when I'm in thoughts, I'm not in the perception of that mechanism. It be collective for me. You know what I'm saying? So you always in a meditative space, even when you're dealing with others. That's how you always with the holy, holy, holies. They give you
And it,
messages how to just create the mechanism itself, or stay in that area where the mechanism exists. So you always see where those energies come from, whether you're participating with it or not. You always be in a position of being a representative of how to do it with honor.
which let me see if I can pull. I'm gonna try to pick up this image, but like that's basically like what motherfuckers be saying of like which I'm starting to let me talk close to the camera because that's probably the way you can hear me. Which I'm starting to realize what people be saying when they be talking about like you say like lightening your load, right? And then some people use other shit like oh raising your vibration and shit or your frequency. And even though they be using the wrong words, I get what they pointed to because like this right here. Hold on, let me see. Like this, right? So we know like to an extent. Damn, it won't even focus. Hold on. Like, hold on.
Yeah, I seen that image before though, I think.
Like, okay, like
Oh,
we
there
know
you go.
like this be floating this, right? But low key, like I learned I can kind of make sense out of it. My shit fucking up. You can kind of make sense out of it because it's like when they talk about like the normal chakras and shit that do the body and shit, like all the other ones, the ones above it, those technically could be the ones that people say like, oh, they tap into when they meditate, because those are the only ones that don't deal with the body. All the other seven ones deal with the body and shit. So when you
Right.
meditate and that's the only time you kind of like out of the body or out of the mind, that is some like godly shit. Like right when you say,
Well, what I always like to point to is the spirits that's in human bodies use the power that we all that humans got, but sometimes use it for things that the mind ain't used for. It's kind of like using the mind to do what it already did to make the body, and then come up with things in the mind to make it seem like it's something new or out there. Like for an example, like what you showing right there, the the squirrel is only going to think what it knows how to do. So anything a squirrel described to another squirrel is going to be describing to a squirrel what the squirrel already doing. So that's what humans doing too. Humans are explaining what all humans is already doing, but then it gets into other areas when over exaggeration becomes the beat. So
yeah,
this is
because they try to
so the
make it like some shit you can't, like you have to do this. Yeah, I know what you mean.
like the picture you showing right now, I would look at this like a over exaggerated concept of someone trying to explain these is the top parts is our mind and the bottom parts is our body, but it's just in different words. You see what I'm saying? Like it's just in different, so it's like a different way of saying we think, or it's a different
It's
way
the
of
same
saying,
shit. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
but my bad, go ahead. I was done pretty much.
I'm not really. I was gonna agree with you. I thought about it too. Like low key, like it's funny because you know we talk about because you was the one who was bringing in and initiating the knowledge of like it's only three realms. You talk about like the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension, the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension, purgatory, and you talk about 7th, 8th, and 9th dimension. Then even the Bible it talks about the three heavens, which is basically the same shit you saying. And then when you look at the actual layout of what the Bible talking about, it's the same shit you saying. Like with the second heaven, the second realm of heaven being like what you're talking about, and the third heaven being the realm of God and shit. So it's funny how they have this shit in threes too, which I know is mechanism to all things. Like they get the information from somewhere. But like, I agree with you. Like they try to make it like this is something that we all don't be doing, and you got to do this particular thing. That, but it is true. Like
It's like calling
sometimes,
a
right?
spirit the light.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically what it's doing. It's like calling a spirit an object.
Yeah, fact. Um, but no, I just thought that was interesting. Let me take this off. I thought that was interesting and shit. I'm glad you.
And even that word could get tricky, object, because we know we can't lift or weigh light, but to take it and give it a better term, for lack of better terms, form. And spirit is not a form. Yeah, spirit create forms, emanate forms, and experience forms. But forms is mental forms and physical forms. These are forms. So these are not things we come from. These are things we create. So we have to treat that with precious qualities. Come great power, come great responsibility. So that's the fruit.
I see why people get lost, because it's kind of like what you said earlier when you was like, it's not about everything always being wrong. It's just like sometimes it's not what you seeing, it's how you seeing it. And like if a person got the right spiritual eye to understand what's, or the right discernment to know what's going on, they can decipher an image or a spiritual teaching or whatever like that and not get lost in it. But then you gotta think somebody newly into spirituality or some shit trying to learn, you can easily get somebody lost if they don't even know what they're looking at or the mechanisms of things. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, once people know their own insecurities and their own vulnerabilities, then they won't be lost into things that they may be distracted about, but it seemed worthwhile learning. Because a lot of times a person to get distracted with learning things that ain't got nothing to do with their personal problems. And then in another lens, a person will use external references to cover up what they're going through that ain't got nothing to do with that external thing, whether it's religion or whatever the case may be. And then for the most part, their actual problem never gets solved. And the external thing get used as a point of feeling like it is solved. And then a lot of people don't even understand how they got here or how they leaving or what to go about when they come to living. And then they put their life into these things. So anytime there's some new information come around, they see it through a false sense or false glasses through these things that they're picking up externally. They ain't got nothing to do with how we got here.
I wanted to ask another question too. Oh, is it? Do I start trying to ask a few more?
Go ahead, you guys.
I was gonna say, I was gonna ask. I was gonna say the meditation. We talk about meditation and clearing your thoughts, the space of clairvoyance itself. I think it's a very powerful thing. I want to say it kind of reminds me of like implosion, explosion type thing. And I was gonna say that because it's like, you know, we talk about the person that meditate more, they actually expand more on the orb or the awareness of not thinking, period, the energy of clairvoyant. Well, I was thinking like if you got a person who like, if you meditate, the deeper in meditation you go, the more you do it, like that's the more of that orb that you built. So you able to tap into deeper levels of meditation. So couldn't you say like that can allow a person to even be like to have dreams that are even more lighter?
Hold on, say that again. You
Like
said if a person tap
if you
deeper
got a
into
motherfucker
meditation.
like they say, I'm gonna
Well,
give you an example. Like, I'm
wait,
sorry, go
hold on.
ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say, like, say you got a person who they rarely ever meditated some shit. They mind always cluttered with thoughts and feelings, right? And they might meditate maybe 2 minutes out of the day or some shit. But then you got a motherfucker who put way much more time into that space of clairvoyance. Could you say that when it comes to their dreams, like you mentioned before, that since you talk about that would allow them to maybe be like lighter or like have dreams that are even more lighter than the person that don't do it as
Well,
much?
well, well. It ain't what we do; is how we do it. So it'd be like if they doing it synthetic or not. So if they came up with like a mathematical problem, for an example, meditation is just really what we use meditate as a spiritual perspective for someone to do physically, right? When a person body is Yancy or whatever the case may be, they want to be medicated. So meditation is just mental medication. You being in a meditated space, a medicated space. So anytime you in your medicated or your meditated space, you could be listening to music or, you know what I'm saying, or anything of that nature. Anything that puts you in your pure space, then it puts you into a even using this word implosion explosion, where you could just be aware of that. I know when I'm getting ready to expand a thought, that's explosion. I know when I go inside of it, that's implosion. Just being aware of that. You're already training your spirit to already be in the seed of what meditating is. So you could be doing things throughout the day and things don't bother you as much as it may bother someone else, aka you more in your meditated space than someone else spiritually. Now, if you do choose to practice that physically, you might can become a shaman or a monk, but then sometimes it get too much synthetic because it becomes something like a physical routine or a practice that don't have nothing to do with the actual experience that make the seed that become the tree if it had a look like sitting Indian style or something like that. So it's always about being in that spiritual space first, because then it might be a time that you might not ever be able to sit Indian style or anything of that nature, and you still got to find your peace within, even where it ain't none around you or it ain't no example in your mind that you can even point to be like things is going on peaceful at the moment. It should be somewhere spiritually you still can find that space.
Yeah, facts. Because sometimes they be giving too much importance to the external things. And I understand, like when we was talking about, like with the Earth Moon sign, sometimes it's more easier for a person to tap into things if they're this and that. But it's also like they don't want to create no fucking dependence on these things either, because that's kind of getting away from the whole point.
Right. Without the word meditation, it's literally just being aware that you think and you feel. So using that as a template, for lack of better words, as a spirit, damn, because it's like I am, therefore I think, not I think, therefore I am. So it's once it's the other way around, and that's the right way it's supposed to be. I am, therefore I think. It's almost like, oh, I'm aware that I think and feel. And thoughts is expansion, externalizing, and feeling is me going inside of it. So that's internalizing and things of that nature. So as long as I keep track of this, I can stay in this meditative space. And at any time I start to get overdrafted in this area, being the holy children, I could try to force or find that way where I can actually meditate because I know it's needed. But never lose track of this whole little mechanism from the area I'm at. That's how we kind of can look at it. Is just we can even separate meditation once you become a master in that area. It's just basically always being aware. I think I feel. So I'm around spirits that's going to think or feel. So I'm always ahead because I know what mechanism I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with an expansion right now, a thought, and I'm dealing with an implosion right now, a feeling, and I'm automatically going to know where it came from. Always being in this place. So that's clairvoyance.
Okay, bet. That's facts. That makes a lot of sense for real though. And then my last question I was gonna say, let me hurry and get to it because I was gonna say, I don't know if you talked about this before, but what is the metaphysics of rainbows and shit? Because I be hearing a lot of different cultures talk about the bridge to the realm of the dead and shit. I like, what actually is the actual metaphysical meaning of the rainbow and why we see that?
Well, in a spiritual concept, it'd be like taking a beauty path. So it's the act, since we're a spirit rotating to the left, and everything that we're leaving behind, we're supposed to take responsibility for. This is how even 7 tribes and bands and stuff like that could get created. It's showing you the holy concept of it, and this is how you can get messages from the holy ones. So going beyond the mountains, going beyond the river flows, the sirens, which will be the woman, the daughters, all her sisters and stuff. You'll even go into the less dense, where you get the green and turquoise or the yellow world and things of that nature, and all of these how they join as worlds. Same way how we see river flows with different densities in them, because this part got more mineral salt or something like that, sea salt in it than this one. So when they interact, it can have river falls up under that sea, or having the case. It'll be like within that same question. My nose is running like a motherfucker. Oh, you should ask. Let me. All right, I got you. I should have been got some damn tissue and shit like that. But for the most part,
are you straight?
So when we think about each mechanism play out in this area also. So when we think about color shifts and stuff, before they all come together and become darkness, and smaller spirits could do this and experiencing the mechanism before it become dark within it. This is how we actually think we see in light, but we see in death as phases. Each color represent a group of spirits and stuff like that. That's all interacting and having those characteristics and those natures. And then when we see the interactions of those esoteric realms, those worlds coming together, it let us know the condensity energy, how we're coming here. We come from the sky, we come from the stars, aka the less dense forms of things. Stars is water, and the accumulation bringing things together. If we take the beauty path, what do we see when it comes to a rainbow? Beyond the word beauty, right? It's something everybody is attracted to. So it's attached to attractiveness. So making things beautiful, making things attractive is attached to that, not physically, but playing out these characteristics spiritually and going in the same direction and understanding what these colors mean on themselves and being able to see that within the holy. The messages from the holy ones pass that down. And then when you know how to separate these colors, you know that once you're already in darkness, a body in your shadow, right? You can use your mind to see things from your spirit in a way to allow yourself to separate from being depressed or being in clogginess or being in darkness and be able to help others in that same area. So you would tell them to take the beauty way or take the path of the rainbow or whatever. Now that'd be the spiritual concept of it. Just really getting in deeper what each color mean to represent. Like for an example, red. We're going to see things in nature like red apples. We're going to see things in nature like strawberries. We're going to see things in nature like certain red dots and something like that on birds. And then what do these things do? Because they must be attached to a piece of the percentage scale for them to have that quality that you know you got inside of you. And for you to be a human, you're a part of the 5-pointed being. So you part of what fashioned that. And that's the holy ones teaching you that, if you could see it through that lens. Hey, you got something to do with this. So you're supposed to be aware where this seed come from to even be in a physical representation that you could point to in nature, and then be responsible to appreciate and acting that nature out with much honor and morality as possible. You know what I'm saying? For others, don't destroy it, because this is how we're getting here. We're making a bee nest. And for the most part, we're the bees experiencing the life in it for ourselves to make sweet milk and honey and things of that nature. Now, the physical representation of it will be just the less dense forms get trapped into the heavier forms, and it may appear to look like it's moving in the way of the heavier form. So when less lighter water particles get trapped in heavy air pockets and stuff like that, aka condensed water and stuff like that, we get to see it in spectrums based upon the heavier object being able to be heavy enough but separated and spread out enough that it can play out like a spread, that we can see each percentage scale that really what colors is. Blue is just the lack of percentage. Then when you add the little texture of blue interacting with itself so much, it creates the from the blue world to the yellow world. That's an interaction on its own. So then you get the same mechanism of blue creating yellow, and then that being its own mechanism of how blue created itself. Then they interact on its own, and then that creates the goddamn green world. Then you get or the just the green sector, the pollen from that pollen, and then that be all the sperma seeds and stuff like that that we don't see, that people still don't think that's where grass come from and trees come from. They come from that. Those seeds be so light sometimes you can't. That's why every time they try to make some synthetic shit, it be like turf or grass that barely grow, or it don't look like it matched the color of natural nature, because the atmosphere, aka the holy ones, got to not be fucked with, and let them do their job, and then the environment that they're crafting become more fruitful, so everybody could think better with their own mind and feel better with their own environment, and find something in the atmosphere and the environment that's fruitful, beautiful looking grass and trees with new fruit on there that can exist.
Facts. They always trying to do something synthetic and shit like that. Like everything they do is synthetic, even to the way they try to, like you said before, using the rainbow and being lighter because we came from the stars and shit, and then our higher natures, our more outer natures. And you know that even remind me, which what I came across, my last topic by the way before I get up out of here. But that even remind me like some shit you had said with the with Halloween or shit, and how like I forgot what you said, but basically I found out some shit about Halloween. Like that's like when like I guess the realm of the is more thin or some shit, so the spirits can interact more so or some shit, and like that's why they be doing all that shit. Like it's like retarded, like how they
Well,
do with that shit. I
well,
sound scattered. My
in
fault. I'm
my
sorry.
language and stuff like that, like get in the weeds and stuff, that'd be like the sky. And the sky during this time is like the land of the dead. And it leads us to the dead things that grow at certain times that it don't grow in the Great Lakes, that may grow in the Great Plains or the Great Basin or something like that, or down the river line going down to Florida, or and shit like that. So when it comes into wintertime, this lets us know that as above, so we know how to get prepared as below. So it'll be a bunch of storytelling at this time too, based upon before or during harvest season and during the rest of fall. So it'll be a lot of stories that when you're a spirit with your mind inside of your body, and then you start to have another thought, you're interacting with another spirit, whether they're alive or not yet, but they're aware, so they're trying to be alive. And wherever that you're at, once you start to create an image, both of y'all worlds combine, and whatever imagination you have, you're interacting with that spirit because y'all sharing kind of similar spaces at the moment. And depending on that time, which it would be winter time or this time of death, and what we already see in nature, what we could point to as best to describe it and things of that nature, this will be how we describe what spirit we interacting with, whether it's a spirit that been there and done a lot of things, so the spirit influence is part of that atmosphere within that environment, spirit that just became aware but it has similar traits, or another spirit that's trying to get born and things of that nature. And then for the most part, during wintertime, a lot of times it'll be described as kind of like, you know, spirits that's coming back from the dead, or spirits that's trying to be born that might bring destructive when we're going through the light, or spring and summertime. And a lot of the holidays that the Puritans came over and stuff, kind of like civilizing the Native Americans, kind of took that same concept. And a lot of holidays at this time is based on those type of beliefs we had as Native Americans.
They
It'd be
fucked
like
it up bad back then though, cause it's a lot of shit too. Like even when you talk about like a lot of shit from back in the colonial period, it's a lot of spirits that you could say maybe they done trapped and shit, but they done became ghosts and shit. Cause like okay, like how they be having like certain houses, certain areas and shit. They got like a high occurrence of what you consider paranormal activity and shit, to the point where sometimes they'll even make it attraction after a period of time.
Hold on, what'd you say?
Like how it be like certain houses, certain places, and shit that's like basically got like a high level of paranormal activity in it. Like they'll say it's haunted or some shit, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of these be like old spirits. Like that's why when I was looking at somewhere in Native American, it was like I think where Native American used to be. It was like a Native American plantation or some shit. But this was some old shit from like the 18th century. And they say like it's like a lot of paranormal activity. They say it's haunted and shit. And like
all spirits do that. So depending on where you at and what spirits was there, those the ones that end up having that folklore. Like if you in Europe, they probably got a folklore like that and stuff, but not that's real. Just like for an example, that's how I got out of covenant and things of that nature. I was trapped in a box and stuff because this is how I'm aware of that, because we are the same spirits. But if you aware after, you probably got to learn about it, which you're a part of, or if you said I'm back or I'm that, but we still are the same spirits, whether you come fresher after someone else or here. Like, and that's how I chose to come back to get out of the covenant and things of that nature. Because I even got put in the covenant because it's like a game. It's a sacrificial game, right? If I put a spell on you and you want to get out of the spell I put you in, you would do something to me, but you will make an object that's worthwhile in my name, whether it's a statue, whether it's a motor vehicle, you know what I'm saying, whether it's a missile or however the case may be. And when that thing is done in the grace of something good, it's almost like this was the game back in the day that us Native Americans was playing with the pilgrims that we all went to hell for. And I'm telling that we all got to get out of that shit. I've been in mad Masonic lodges and mad type of stuff, and even sweat lodges that got burnt down and all kind of shit in my day. So like I remember mad conversations. I remember mad type of like not like, you know how people be talking in today's time, they gotta learn information. I don't know things through information. I know things through the validity of something, the nuance, like what a person going through it had to think about to come up with that thought. You either the person that know how to put on rims or you don't. That is like this is, but we always go through this shit every 300 years. Is that should be start written down. I think it's already written down though. Like a lot, it is some studies. I seen France got a lot of studies about stuff like that. But we are the same spirits, and you hunt wherever you around. Everybody do that, and it ain't what we do, is how we do it. And if you got grace, you're able to come back and change it up. And if you don't got no grace, you up out of here.
So, but wait, okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. So, like, so the ones that don't be having grace be like the motherfucking spirits that be like from the 16th, 17th, 18th century that still be haunting a particular area to this day.
Yeah.
So they stuck. They can't even get born again.
Now, if they evaporated, the space no longer exists. So if it's forms of remnances, it might be structures or it might be thought forms that no other spirit space that's inside of their mind and body want to do or agree with. So that lets you know that them spirits got up out of there. Whatever spirits has something to do with that space, time, and matter, that they spirit, mind, and a body. You know what I'm saying? That, and we still experience small reminiscences of the mind in the atmosphere, picking up that thought, and the environment. Maybe certain structures and environments that still represent that, or statues, or however the case may be. But then you got certain ones that's grace. Let's say spirits that probably got out of here. They was haunting, but they got grace. They're gonna hunt that place, but the way they hunt them is everybody who's still alive agreeing with it is getting negative things done to them. And they're trying to wake the spirits up, like it's not somebody else doing it to you. It's not your own mind. Or us is doing it to you to let you know you get ready to come here with us, and we all gonna be damn trapped in this goddamn statue or mound or some goddamn shit. Goddamn it, nah, hell nah. To change your shit and change this shit, or move this shit, or put it back to some shit in the atmosphere and the environment that agree with this shit. But being right here, we stuck. You know what I'm saying? So that it's like a hell being lost in somebody else's mind, from the holy, the atmosphere and the egg cell, the environment, and then even in the that's why us tribes, if let's say we went to war with another tribe and one of our bandmates get killed on the other tribe land, we can't even settle until we go get that body. We not even gonna be able to sit around and think. Grandma, the mama ain't gonna be able to make us rest, and we're gonna have to be forced to think about what they might be doing with that body all day. Like that's our spiritual. Like it ain't about none of that. Oh, was we scared of dead bodies or not? That ain't the thought. The thought is go get your fucking family member. Know what I'm saying? Real
So
shit.
basically, some of those spirits do be kind of aware of a person. Like, so say there's a shed, a motherfucking haunted, right? A big ass shed, some big ancient shed, and there's a few spirits that's still haunted there, living life like they was when they was alive and shit. So say you go in there, right? Say, let me use you. Say me and you go in there, right? And then like, damn, we gotta stay 3 nights in there, and it's like, damn, man, it's like weird shit keep happening. We hearing shit, we this happening, shit falling on its own. Like, what the hell going on? To the point where we end up being like, yeah, man, come on, man. Yeah, come on, Dolo, man. We need to get out of here. And you like, man, I'm right with you. Let's go. So basically, those spirits purposely did shit to make us move out of that space.
Hold on, you saying if you feel that kind of energy, you saying those spirits? Well, it don't always have to be like that. It can be like that, or it could just be like you're in a place you don't belong in. For an example, you in one gang, you ain't even got to see the other gang members on the block you don't belong on, but you're gonna start to feel a little bit. Because look at it like this: everything is about attention, but it ain't what we do, it's how we do it. So the mind is tension. We're creating stimuli, tension spans that bend in and become actions, and whoever play out those actions the hardest, negative or positive, whether they went organ implosion or explosion, right? They become the person with their own mind, atmosphere, and their own environment, body, to make the holy version, that atmosphere, that actual location, and that environment be what it is. So let's say what you were saying, a spirit died, and they had a whole bunch of attention based upon what they did, and let's say, regardless. And we don't even know what this person did. So we don't got no dog in the fight to know if it's negative or positive. But let's say we come from a certain background. Let's say we coming from a church background. So it's certain things that, so just the way the structure is going to be one thing, but it's manifested by the way the spirits thought there too. And the spirits that might be trapped there. That's when we start talking this vibe talk, and we're gonna be like, why are we picking up this vibe? And if it's on the percentage scale of we got to get out of here, man, this don't resonate with my spirit. That's our spirit been inside of our spaceship, our mind, and where our spiritual space at, we can't see where that thing came from, because where we coming from as a sea, we make up minds in different cities and states that represent part of Christianity and stuff like that. So when we act out that witchcraft with our body, ritual and spell, our spirit is going to be like, I don't know, we even supposed to be here. We ain't got nothing to do with this motherfucking shit. Whether we involved with the spirit that's trapped in that motherfucker haunting that shit or not, or the collection of spirits. Then it could be a situation where, let's say we a gang, and we did that to another gang and shit like that. We already got conversations of what we did. So when we pick up that vibe, that's God already showing us, we know we did something that we know we ain't got no business even being here. We know we should be doing something about this, unless we get ready to cope. Do some coping mechanism. You know what I'm saying? Then I ain't about to change nothing either. It's just us about to, you know what I'm saying? But either way, it's just anytime a spirit or a group of spirits create their subjective atmosphere and environment, that be the mental cloud in the atmosphere and that environment that other spirits pick up and start to with their thought and feeling. When they connect with it, they have their imagination, and that's what they be pointing to and feeling and saying, oh, I'm impactful, I'm in fluid, I'm in vibe. Those spirits.
That mean the government be going hard with that though, because it be like real like areas and houses and locations that be getting haunted. And when I say haunted, it's different when you talk about people online.
Hauntedness is haunted.
I'm talking about
Trust
shit
me.
that didn't happen.
I was doing a lot of haunting.
Oh, I'm sorry. What'd you say?
No, I'm saying you're right. Continent, all continents is haunted. Trust me, I was doing a lot of haunting, and I don't want to do that no more. I don't want to be in nobody's mind, nothing no more. I'm glad I'm back out and I can live through y'all, through people, instead of me living. I mean, y'all can live through me instead of me living through y'all, aka inside of y'all. That's a real thing, man. I've been inside of lungs, hearts, prostates, all kind of shit. Well, that ain't no job. That ain't nothing to do. Because it ain't what we do, it's how we do it. You get trapped in other people's concepts, which is their mind, and all the physical represent. It's like that mechanism that we talking about right now play out, and there's a lot of different procedures to that. Matter of fact, let me switch the words. This procedure we talking about got a lot of different mechanisms to it, and a lot of different spirits that been there, done that. That, man, it's important to get messages from them, because we could be doing the same type of mistakes, all kind of shit. So I like to stay at that type of space too. But these things are done in so many different ways beyond what we talking about.
Oh yeah,
Real
facts.
shit.
That's what I was gonna add on to too. Before I get up, I was gonna say, yeah, that remind me because the government be going hard. Because like I said, like you said too, it be a lot of places, areas, locations that be haunted. And when I say haunted, I mean haunted not just with the internet shit with he say she say, but shit that done went on before the internet was even a thing. Shit that before YouTube came out, like it was already known that okay, there was a lot of paranormal activity in these areas in this house, and to the point where the government now, right? The last person, the owner that was in those houses, done sold the damn house. Saying F that, done sold the damn house. And then a lot of times, if you pay attention, what the government will do is they'll take those haunted, heavy paranormal activity houses, and they'll actually turn them into amusement parks for Halloween and shit. So I don't know what the hell the
Right.
government doing with that, but they know what they
Yeah, it's
doing.
like it need to be a spiritual school for this. This is what I'm trying to do. Cause look, we could put this in simple terms. Look, this where this seed come from. Who am I? Right? Now here's the thing. If you are who you are, that would never be a subject matter for anybody, right? Especially if everybody was one species, but then everybody different species. That'd never be nothing either. It'll always be some concept of that wouldn't be a thought for people to ask that, or a person will say, who am I, for different purposes. It won't be like, oh, I'm lost, or whatever the case may be. So that seed comes from larger of a percentage scale of comprehension of we the same spirits, not just you being a new spirit and then thinking like an atheist after this is done. That whole concept, who am I, wouldn't exist if you just come here and it's done, because that'll be a percentage scale as a procedure and a mechanism that every time somebody come here, that's just a thought. It's never a thought of trying to say, who am I, even in micro situations. So when you expand that who am I goes back to a spirit just experiencing in a mind and a body, but we the same spirits. This is why we even get into history and things of that nature. So reason why I say that is too, is to this aspect, going beyond getting stuck in a haunted house and getting stuck in a statue. That same mechanism play out like this. A person is saying, who am I too? Because they stuck in a whole nother person. So a spirit could be, for an example, think about it from the lens of a person who may practice colorism and believe in only sticking to a pure race. And then you don't remember being born and you don't remember dying. So you a spirit inside of a mind and body right now. Then you use this concept. Who am I? Automatically, you is in a mind that somebody else's mind that ain't had nothing to do with your spiritual people mind. And then end up being in that mind condensing and physical form, same way like I'll be explaining your spiritual family and or that concept play out even negative and positive in those ways before it become physical. You get lost in desires and things of that nature away from spiritual root race, and then play out in the physical like that too. You get lost in another mind, then get lost into that physical. So whoever you was connected with mentally end up being the form your spirit is mixed and mingling than the previous people. Then you get born in that family like a dog getting born into a human. Anytime you could have a best friend and get born into that person's family if you die, and then instead of your own family, because if you had a lot more experiences with that best friend and then they family and shit like that. So then it's the same spirit go through the washing machine cycle, 120 years, 120 years, 300, boom, 120 years, 100, well, 150, whatever the case, and then boom. Then for the most part, end up in a form, if you made a lot of mistakes, of something that don't represent whatever position you was in that you wish you would have stayed in some way. And then it go to that energy of who am I? But it's always going to be a little bit more of a percentage scale to make you realize that you supposed to be this. You just can't fully be that because of this small percentage scale of this, small percentage scale of that. That's making you docile in this area, making you civilized in this area. And then for the most part, that becomes the next challenge.
Oh damn, I'm on that. My mic was muted. But yeah. And another thing I would say, hey, you know what? You in Ohio. I don't know if you're familiar with Indiana, but there's a house in Gary, Indiana called Demon House. And it's so notorious for being haunted. And this is way back before the early, like late 90s, I'd even say. So this some shit before the internet technically. And it done got so bad now, man, to the motherfucker owner done left that bit. Ain't nobody living in that bit now. They done turned that bit. He done bought that bit out, rented it out, turned it into a tourist attraction. And everybody
Yeah,
that go to
grandma
that
back.
bit, huh?
Yeah, grandma back. So anytime something become highly infested, it's because they're coming in. So there's a lot of spirits being born. low key might be native spirits. And so depending on, especially if it's around Prophetstown or anything of that nature, all of us is coming back. So it's like, this is the shift. The shift has a lot of things to it. Also that's what shifts is, and things of that nature. So it's just a shift spiritually, a shift and physically also. But so
Why
those
do y'all
natures
keep
coming
flocking
back.
to
So
that
that's
one
why it's a
house?
lot of tribal energy, a lot of tribal energy coming back too, because grandma back.
Why do y'all keep attracting to that one house? Because the last owner that had it, he had it, I think, between like the early 2000s to about 06. He said, fuck that shit. He sold that bit, but it was the owner before him. The owner that was before him was complaining about this shit. You see what I'm saying? He let that motherfucker go. And so these entities keep pushing these motherfuckers out. They like, I don't know what's going on, but they pushing them motherfuckers out. But why it keep being that particular house?
It might be birth pains of the land. So when a spirit have accumulated enough mental forms, aka to participate back into the atmosphere and the environment, because the above waters is flowing in the same direction, that's like what the shift is, then all that accumulation is in process in the physical, and that's the physical land and actual the water and stuff like that. So any spirits, sometimes it might not even be the spirits attacking the spirits that's there. It's the spirits that's trying to get born, trying to find respectable parents. So they're trying to find more of the percentage scale of the same mechanism, them producing a mind, atmosphere, and the environment of the same spiritual cycle system. And anytime there's a birth pain, that means spirits is coming in. That whole area might seem like it's haunted and stuff like that, but it's just a bunch of spirits coming in and shit like that.
Nah, facts, because they say they call Gary. I ain't know shit about Gary till recently. So shout out Gary, but they say Gary, Indiana is like, they even call it a ghost town. There's a lot of killing and a lot of murder and crime rate going on, but they say it's like a ghost town pretty much.
It might be a child that want that house or want that area. It might see that location. It might be hunting around in that location. Like, no, I was here first.
That's
So
crazy. No, wait, that's crazy. You said child, because they say most people that be in the area and be around the house, they always see some type of, I think they call it is it like a some type of apparition of like a little girl. It's like a little girl, and it's sometimes like they'll see like different figures. Not that little girl's not the only one that's haunting the house. It's multiple different spirits. They say it's multiple of them, but they always
there
talk
you
about a
go.
girl. That's crazy. You said
Yep,
that
fresh
though,
out the
bro. That's
river. Yeah,
crazy.
that what I said, I bet that's a native spirit, because that's how I came straight through my backyard with my old the old house and parents' house, old house and stuff like that. That I was born in. But my spirit came through the backyard, the back of the garage, and that's where the little river was at, is the little flow and stuff like that go through the Milk Creek Park and shit like that. But for the most part, I came through the back and that picked that house and everything and shit like that. Yeah, so I was always there. I was always in Ohio. From my starting point, but my family and stuff like that on my mother and my father's side from South Carolina. My father, North Carolina, my mother, South Carolina.
That's
But
deep. You definitely got a
but
spiritual
my dad,
island.
my father actually from North Carolina, but my mother is from South Carolina, but had my mother here and all her other kids and stuff like that. But that's what's going on. It's a child, and that child feel like that's their spot. That's their spot. So even the people that live there, I mean, it's just they probably just they probably ain't got nothing to do with nothing. It's just how it is. It ain't like, don't look at it like a spirit is looking at, and the spirit before it become born, it got some human intentions. Like, oh, I want to get rid of it. No, it's not like that. This how you came here. This how we all get here. But it ain't what we do, it's how we do it. So everybody literary history coming their own way. That's probably what's going on in Illinois right now, though. They're like, oh, this is my spot. I'm about to be born. I'm about to be conceived, and this person that just got pregnant, and it's my spot. Y'all gonna have to get the fuck up out of here. You know what I'm saying?
So basically, even though that spirit is not looking at it and thinking it like we thinking it,
Yeah, it ain't thinking about it like that. It's just
but it's
already
still
there.
aware to an extent, though, right? Before it
Yeah,
still know,
either
like,
it
oh,
died
this is our
there,
spot.
either it died there, forced away there from its will, whatever type of, it probably left but had a strong mental hold on there, because it's like, you know how people get homesick. Let's say you die in that space, and depending on the extremity of that homesick, it could be anything. You died on vacation, right? All of that, your spirit linger back to where your atmosphere and your environment is clean to what made you the most. It go back. So that's how you find the largest percentage scale again of who you could be born through as a parent, through the parent, to take more of their DNA again. But yeah, it's just that process itself. Any spirit inside of a mind and body that's awake already experience that, because you got a thought. If you alive and you interacting with another spirit inside of a thought, going through that mechanism for it to have an organ and be alive. And if you don't look like a respectable party, it could be born through that represent a large percentage scale. Like not even a piece, like even a piece of using you won't even get you in the pants if you a man of a female that match your percentage scale. You'll just go ahead and get that. What you'll be doing by default, be in opposition to the person that don't share those qualities, but in that space. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like you don't like raccoons, but you always got raccoons in your backyard, type of energy. It ain't that the raccoon thinking about you, and it ain't that you thinking about the raccoon. It's just the things that the raccoon do make you end up having trash all over your yard before trash day, and you took your yard trash in the backyard. And it's just the things that you do. You just a person that lived there, so you got to take your trash out. So it's just like y'all got different things that y'all ain't thinking about each other when y'all do these things, yet it's affecting each other. You got to go outside, clean up that trash. So you got a raccoon. That raccoon got a backyard to go to with a trash because you live there as a human that got to dump food away. So it's like that type of situation. The spirit ain't really thinking about the person, but the person ain't thinking about the spirit. But if the connection ain't there, the interaction gonna play out like that. The alive person gonna think something haunted. The spirit gonna be like, "Get the fuck, what's in this way?"
That's even more creepy when you think about a spirit not even thinking of you like that. It's just living its whole life and shit that's happening. But you know, I'm gonna say it's like if you pay attention, like it's the most numbers and highest occurrences in like areas that deal with, because you brought up native and shit, like either slavery or some type of plantation work or some where a bunch of people was going through a certain process of being opposed. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or going through some type of like any type of shit like that. Like that's why they say like the highest amount of hunting is like Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi,
Alabama,
all the Carolinas.
that's native too. I think the Chickasaw made Alabama. Hey,
Yeah,
it's
it's real
deep.
bad in Alabama, man. The spirit's real bad there. Everybody hunting that motherfucker.
Yo, the haunted have been added on to right now. Think about it like this. Let's say if we're listening to a Pan-African or an immigrant talking to a FBA, and let's say the immigrant from Jamaica or Africa is speaking to the person that been brought over here, right? Like they need help. Now, from both perspectives, they're in the same space somewhere, just seeing it from two lenses. But what's actually going on is almost like that's a different form of haunting. It's like, without, for lack of better words, they think they having one conversation, but in the spiritual world, it's one spirit saying, "Hey, you is away from me," and another spirit looking at it like, "I'm not away from you," but they still got the similar thought in that world that bend in and become DNA and physical forms and shit like that. So it's like it's like a haunting there too, where it might have been people in Africa that then died, and then over here, and then they still got other people that's still over there saying, "Hey, your space that you belong in is over here in some type of way." But for the most part, you confused and lost over there. And then you can see that through the layers of the arguments that they be having when they argue amongst each other. When you hear the Jamaica arguing with the African American, it'd be silly.
But when like okay, when you say we all do this though as mechanisms of spirits, we all hunt. What's the difference between the shit that we all do that may not be as prevalent or as big of a deal versus something serious like when they be like a haunting, the haunting of Connecticut, like whatever spirit haunting that area, obviously they doing that. They either more attached and more vibrating low, or they gotta be right because motherfucker, my
Hold on, say that
neighborhood, your
again.
neighborhood. Like for instance, right? You say we all do this as spirit as hunt, right? So you probably got spirits throughout your neighborhood. I got spirits in my neighborhood that's floating around hunting the area, ready to be born in. But I'm saying,
Right.
what's the difference between those that may not like around us that may not be as prevalent? Like a lot of them going on, but we not thinking about it. It's not as prevalent as let's say some of the hunters that may be like like the hunting in Connecticut or the great hunting in Alabama or the ghost of Alabama, the ghost of the Mississippi plantation or the ghost like I talk about in the Gary, Indiana, what they call the demon house. Like these are more prevalent. These are more on a deeper level that they're hunting these things to the point where it's so physical, motherfuckers are feeling the need to even leave these areas. What's the difference between the spirits that are haunting these areas at this deeper rate versus the spirits that's just maybe casually around us that we may not even think nothing of it or be affected by it as much, basically? You see what I'm saying?
Well, I think we have to be careful with the word haunting, because look at it like this. Let's say me and you ain't die. Let's say me and you was in a gang and we did a lot of shit on a certain street, right? Everything we did on that street, even if we're not on that street, let's say us just not being on that street is this concept of death. Other people on that street is going to experience, may talk about certain things. Other people may be scared about it or whatever the case may be. Now, let's say our death is just being us on the next street or the sun going into another sign. It ain't us haunting. It ain't us haunting them. It's kind of just them and what they're interacting with that may not be involved with everything that happened there. So if people come over there and game bangers, they're not going to feel comfortable with being in that vibe on that game banger street, even if we're not on that street at the moment. They're going to be like, oh yeah, let's get up out of here on some way, shape, or form. So that means spirits and minds and bodies built attention, aka within an atmosphere that play out within that environment. So when we going back within this concept, you saying those heavy prevalent areas, that just means it's a lot of things that happened in that area, and the spirits that was involved, their energy sectors are still there. The mental concepts that's being created by other spirits that's added onto it, and the spirits that left there that's trying to get up out of it, or maybe still hunting it, and then the environment itself, and it pouring through all the structures of it, and the environment of it, and stuff like that. So the frequency vibration is high volume. It's intense because so many spirits emanated so many thoughts and feelings and actions in that area that it's going to take a while for that foggy cloud to even shed. This is how even spirits get in hell and even be haunting places. So that's where you get heavy prevalent areas. It was an area where a lot of things happen and things of that nature. So depending on the spirits that did things in lighter aspects, they're able to maintain. They didn't go through organ evaporation. So they got grace. So they're able to come back. Now, spirits that's there, whether they had something to do with it or not, because we all the same spirit. So let's say just people just moved there, or spirits that had something to do with that, or whatever the case may be, ain't gonna feel right in that space based upon having to do their own shadow work and deal with what they deal with, or may cope, but it's still gonna be a vibration to let them know to move, or they may have a certain energy that's attached to something that they really didn't participate with. But let's say we created McDonald's, and one of our grandkids that ain't had nothing to do with how we made McDonald's is living in that house. Still got something to do with our mind and body. They probably wouldn't be able to live there either in some way, shape, or form, because they got something to do with the spirit that's getting born there that's more in the percentage scale. Because all of us do the same thing. So even when a spirit is dying, but in a place that don't belong, it go back and float to where it belongs, or try to find wherever it got lost at the highest percentage scale of where it just came from. So it can still join, but still have enough energy to learn what it did wrong. So it can start to do what is already in similar and add on new things to it to get back to grace and God.
And it's funny what you brought up too earlier about Chicago. Somebody else just said about Chicago, how I feel like negativity and death. Because I knew somebody who was
Chicago and
yeah, in fact, like I knew somebody and he was like, motherfuckers be getting shot all the time. Like he was like in LA, all that niggas like around that area, niggas be getting shot all the time. But he said we went to Chicago. He went with somebody that obviously was from there to feel safe. But he said he ain't never felt no presence like that. He's like, it was a weird energy in Chicago where he was like, nigga, I'm a gangster, I'm a blood. Like I done dealt with bloodshed and shit in my life. But he was like, when he went there, like the energy was strong. And he wasn't no spiritual person, so you know how we use words like vibes and shit. So the best say he was just saying, he said the energy was just like it was like strong. He said he felt little. He said it felt like the best way he could explain it was always tension. It was a strong feeling of always tension in the air. He said I ain't gonna lie to you. He said he got out there quick. He said he went to got this pizza, called his homie up, and he left because the energy was just too crazy. Like
right. See that's why I be trying to teach y'all. about, especially if you're foreign or you're just here and spiritually waking up to learn y'all literary histories and stuff. That's why I always tell y'all, because even though it's being civilized in a synthetic way, it don't matter who you are or where you from. If you over here, you're running off a Native American template. You know what I'm saying? So even in Illinois, Chicago and stuff like that, we call that the wild field. So when it comes to the wild field, the Native Americans there sometimes was too retarded amongst themselves. So if you an ethnicity and you get moved in Chicago, you gonna be you got your micro atmosphere and micro body environment inside of powerful. Like white man know us Native Americans is powerful. Like they know that. So they know that some other people could get lost in this fruit, in this whore over here, this whore Babylon. So a lot of ethnicities get placed in Chicago and don't even know they're in an atmosphere with a collection of goddamn tribes and shit like that, that if you're not part of the holy ones, you got your own desires, your own mind, it's going to connect with the atmosphere, the mind that's already there. Then when you act it out in the environment, it go crazy. You Tory Lanez, you a drill rapper, you know what I'm saying, you all this crazy shit, no kinship, no nothing. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's crazy over there in Chicago just because of what was done and the spirits that came up out of the water first that God put there.
Yeah, it's a strong murder spirit over Chicago, boy. Like that's crazy. Like young
You
people and shit getting killed for dumb shit.
You pluck wild rice out of there, even the stuff that grow into the nature. That's the highest form of astrology. It goes beyond just characteristics, even the stuff that as above, so below, as within, so without, stuff that grow in certain locations, and then match it out with the macro way of how we correlate astrology. So even if you're not born in that area, or no matter what zodiac sign that you is born in that area, you still gonna have this esoteric animal will characteristics traits of being a little bit more wilder than your neighbor, even being born in that area and things of that nature, by even how certain things grow there other than over here and by Ohio, where might be more salt over here or something like that.
This must be why each city you going to, like even like the neighboring city you going to, feels so damn different the second you go into the parameters of that city and shit. And then this must also be why certain places you probably fuck with more than others. Like, so, how you go to certain places and shit, you'd be like, oh, this feel weird. Like, man, I don't really fucking with this place. Like, and then certain places you go into, you'd be like, oh, this said I could do this, right? That's probably that same mechanism or the reason why a person feel that way.
Yeah, I like to look at it like a lot of ways. I chalk everything up to if I'm familiar with it or if it's unfamiliar with it. So if it's something exciting, something I want to do, or something I ain't did yet. If it's extremely mundane, it still have layers of repetition behind it. So it's either something I already did, and so it ain't nothing catching that new spark attention to represent higher on a percentage scale or something new, and it's just look too low on a percentage scale for me to realize that I've done it before, because it wasn't nothing that caused a extreme reaction or response or anything of that nature. So when I be in that area, it'd be more of familiarity or non-familiarity, not even caring to be familiar in some way. So that I will look at it more from an instance of, did I experience something or didn't experience something, and start from there before getting to that layer.
All right, but and then lastly,
Like if something make me feel excited, and something make me feel I know I ain't experienced that yet, or it's something that I need to redo because there's a new attribute added to it. If it's something I ain't experienced to do, or whatever the case may be, 9 times out of 10, I could chalk that up to the spiritual science physically of it's a video game I played already. So and I ain't excited to play it again. You know what I'm saying? I ain't that excited no more.
I see what you're saying. And then when you say, like, remember you were saying like that it's not like, even if a spirit is what you quote unquote hunting something, it's not like it's looking and saying I want to attack somebody. Like when those spirits are like that done passed away, when they are either they attached to the area or not, when they like dead or haunting something in their own life, is there a mechanism of thinking? Like, I'm not even saying think. I'm not even looking at it like trying to attack nobody or nothing like that. No human shit. Just the way I'm just saying, like in their own life spiritually, when they after they dead, is there a mechanism in their own life? Like, okay, I'm going into the garage. I'm doing this. I'm purposely putting this in this where, because like they actually thinking and living out their life in that way, or is it like they have like
Well,
no mind and only moving off of resignation?
it depends on what you think of thinking, because that's kind of what you're doing right now. But in this aspect, it ain't it might be how you looking at it. So how can I explain this? Well, it's perfect. Natural. So replace thinking with something you do naturally without the exaggeration part of it. So that it goes back to the I am, therefore I think. So if thinking is a natural process also, it ain't synthetic, that is the natural thing, then for the most part, whatever the spirit is experiencing, it's going to be in that area still doing natural natural qualities. And what come from that is thinking. When you do a whole bunch of birth, life, deaths with the mechanism of natural nature qualities, thinking is something that come from that. So when you're able to go through these processes and be like, oh, I remember this thought, so I know what's good and bad, so I know how to construct it, this, that, and third, that just come from nature's natural. You only thinking about which you can do better or more convenient from your natures, and that we all do natural. So thinking is something natural. So whether a person dead or not lost in this synthetic exaggerations that we put too much meanings behind words or not, the spirit always in this mechanism, and that's natural on the highest percentage scale. Nothing's greater than that percentage in all things when it comes to natural and nature. So we can't put thinking above nature. So if a person think they're getting haunted, that's what they're doing as an individual. They think they're being haunted, but it's in all actuality something natural going on that happens in nature, period. That's the nature of things.
Would you
When you
say
do something, go
oh, I'm
ahead.
sorry, no, that's me. Go ahead.
Now I'm about to say when you do something to others and you feel a certain way, that's natural. That's nature. The thought is what come from that. That's part of nature. That's part of what's natural. So the spirit always going to be doing some type of nature from high
When
levels to low levels.
when a person gets to overthinking, is that not natural? Is that when it becomes not natural anymore? Like when a person gets like
Yeah,
to
that's when it
overthinking
become
or
not natural.
anxiety and OCD and shit like that.
Right. That's when it become not natural and things of that nature. Um, for an example, let's say traumas. We're talking about traumas, right? A person developed a trauma naturally. You know what I'm saying? So let's say if a person went to sleep and their house caught on fire, and let's say they didn't they saved themselves and they family, they didn't die. That might become a trauma if they go back into a dream or something like that, and then wake up and naturally and shit like that, and they thought things was on fire, but it wasn't. So the thinking come after what that spirit went through it as a natural experience, and that natural experience played out in that person's specific way. They went through a natural experience of experiencing something being on fire, then jumping up and then stopping it, and then that caught on to them and things of that nature. So it's like something that spirit is naturally doing. Until that spirit know how to get out of that, change that natural nature, they won't have that trauma. So it would be like that. The spirit always going to be in a position of whatever happened. Now let's extend this to death. Let's say you died based upon jumping off a roof because you was a gymnastic person or something like that. In your next lifetime, you might be scared of heights. So you might be on a high mountaintop that ain't got nothing to do with you being on top of that gymnastic class type of thing. But wherever you go, there you are. Your spirit going to be familiar of the same thoughts and feelings, impactful influences that you got the ability to create when you separated from the last one to be here. And because your spirit only know that size, and then physically it's just in that different form, that different brain. But wherever you go, there you are. Your spirit's still in that, going to be creating that kind of space naturally. So even your thought process, you're going to develop naturally. Oh, I'm scared of heights.
Okay, wait, but like, what about if a person wasn't really attached, you know what I'm saying, and then they died and their spirit was big enough to like take an atmosphere body, like a higher level, a next level, like an atmosphere body, but say they still previously died from like a height thing. When they die and go into the atmosphere vessel, it's going to be the same thing. Like in that world, is going to apply as them being scared of heights, or would they have expanded out of that type of experience in general, so they may not have to even worry about that or think like that in the next lifetime when they become atmosphere.
Hold on. You said if they died without being afraid of heights?
No, like, okay, like, you know how you said before, like you use like a easy, mundane, simple version of like a person that died before on some heights, and then they get born in the next life and they're scared of heights, right? Okay, I
Yeah.
was saying, say it's the same thing. A person died in a previous life being scared of heights, but the next life they get born into, their spirit is expanded enough to take an atmosphere body, a higher vessel. In that world, is the atmosphere, will it play out the same thing in that world? Like somehow the same energy representation of heights they'll be scared of there, or will they have been expanded out of that experience totality in general, so they won't have to worry about being scared of heights again? You see what I'm
Yeah,
trying to say?
yeah, I must that they don't even deal with heights and mass and stuff like
Right,
that.
right. That's what I'm saying. So a person, if a person, whatever they were scared of or dealt with before, but if they die and they expand out of this vessel and they go to atmosphere body, then they're not gonna have to worry about the other shit no more, right?
It's going nah, you can't. Whatever you create, you got to deal with. It's almost like, let's say if you a cheater and that person don't know you cheating, but when you go to sleep, you start to experience that you got caught cheating or some energy. So you whatever you doing, you still experience it.
Right, yeah, but I know, yeah, that's what I'm saying. But like, okay, like you mentioned, like you said, the atmosphere world, once you get like, it don't deal with this same mundane shit. So I'm saying if
Right.
a person might have had a bad experience down here with some shit that was down here, but they die and they expand out of this vessel and become an atmosphere, even though it was a traumatic shit that happened to them here, when they die and go to atmosphere vessel, they're not gonna really be still dealing with that energy no more. I have to worry about it no more. I'm saying, you see what I'm saying? Is that true? Since that
You
world don't
know,
deal with that shit.
you either do organ evaporation. That'd be the only way you don't deal with it if you just get up out of here, or organ expansion. You come back and experience, and you get to
That's what I'm
be
trying to
here.
do. I'm trying to so I don't have to deal with that shit no more. That yeah.
I
You
mean,
see
but
how my mind was going?
it depends on like what that mean though, because like here's the thing: when you don't deal with something, you still create it. So going to an atmosphere, it's like how the example I just broke down. You could have a life experience, but when you have a dream, the dream don't got nothing to do with the life experience, but the energy does. For an example, if you cheating on somebody and they don't know, but then you go to sleep and then you have dreams about being caught cheating, it's like that's the energy of, so you're going in your lighter body, the atmosphere. And let's say you did a whole bunch of convincing this person that you ain't cheat, and then let's say you even die in that space. You had plenty of dreams when you was alive of getting caught cheating, but you die in that space. You end up creating a world where you have to deal with all that. AKA in your dream, feeling like you getting caught, in your dream, feeling like you think you do, and until all that fade, and then it could be organ evaporation. But how much effort you put in it based upon when you was alive and you cheated on homegirl, that's how much of the same energy you got to experience before you get out of it. And here's the thing: when you're in that energy, the spirit always going to want to jump into some assistance. It ain't gonna never, if it go completely into the organ evaporation, that takes extreme coping, extreme, because no one want to be trapped into a nightmare. Everybody gonna want to get to like a dream or something like that that's peaceful. But everybody got to reap what they sow. Earth is just a platform for where spirits choose to express where they came from and where they're going. So Earth, where we come from, is how we make Earth itself. Where we going is how we take that same substance and it becomes the new form. But this is just a platform for that. We could bring heaven here or bring hell here, but it's just going to be the cycle in general. And then the ones that do things in opposite that God don't like get up out of here, and then it'll only be a world for people doing things for God. And then that's how God made it. God need everybody to make their own decision, or it wouldn't be a certain situation. You know what I'm saying? So people need to get lost in their own physical, or whatever the case may be, if they bad spirits, and they also get a chance to have grace. But whatever we do on earth is just us using our mind and body, how we got here, to make up our next circumstance for the less dense body. And is we going to be able to have that be an add-on, or is that something we swallow ourselves in and become like a nightmare, or however the case may be? So our characteristics and our natures is what become hell. So let's say if we just doing a whole bunch of negative things that we don't want to deal with, physically, whatever we do to not deal with it play out in reverse, something that only we can deal with no assistance. And depending on how far we did it, that'll be how long it takes for us to be in a nightmare and to get up out of that in some way, shape, or form.
Okay, yeah, I'm glad you explained it like that and shit like that. Cause even though like when I say like not even like negative shit like that we do as humans, like something that we negatively put in energy in. I'm saying even if it's like, this is stupid, right? This is a stupid example, but even like if a motherfucker's scared of like say they're scared of a fly or some shit, are they it's some weird retarded shit where they like scared of sneezing, are they scared of some weird shit, right? Some like if they died and go to that world, that shit don't really. I ain't go too deep into it, man, because I
Like
know I
look
ain't
at
trying
it
to get
like
far.
look at it like nature's. The reason why a spirit is happy to be alive and participate, because they get to actually wake up to the slow vibrational version of these things that's emanating and condensing from the atmosphere into the environment. So look at the atmosphere and your mind as a micro atmosphere, and that's the characteristic. That's the natures. Then it play out in nature physically. So think about it like this. Something you're in physically, being able to take a whole bunch of different kind of metaphysical forms because you in the dream part of it. You in the less dense version of it. That makes it even worse. That's like a hell, because the mind could be a hell. You could make it a hell. So if the thing you lost in can play out as any different thing in the atmosphere, that's how we know whatever we do in the physical could play out as any kind of dream, but the dream be the same type of influence, the same type of shit. If you know that you run from the cops a lot in the physical world, you know when you have a dream, even if you're getting chased by monsters, that's just your spirit taking the spaces always in. When you woke, getting chased by cops, but when you sleep, you still in that same space, but you're in your atmosphere, less dense body. So it could play out as anything that you probably lost in. A dragon, it can play out as bricks, it can play out as gold floors or whatever. You start getting chased by everything you thought when you was alive you liked. It turned into being shit you don't like when you in your nightmare.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Now that's 100% the best. Yeah, I see what you're saying. 100%.
But yeah, I'm about to end this shit though. This will be about 3 hours.
My fault. Hey, we've been three hours in. Hey, much love to you. Thank you for having me in for the long, lengthy conversation and shit. Because I got to go and replay it back. Because like I said, this be a whole video within itself. So I just appreciate you for having me on here and edifying us and shit with knowledge. Much love.
Yep, shout out to Metatron. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it up for a little bit too before I put it on Patreon. And then and let's chalk it up simple, because I know there's other people click the link, but every 3 hours in, I'll take a little break real quick. And let's make it simple. I'm gonna come back live tonight. Look at it like this. If you're a female, once you wanted something, you got to be careful what you ask for. If you're a male, once you wanted something, you got to be careful what you ask for once you get it. You wanted that bitch, once you got her, you realize you ain't want her no more. You got that man, once you got him, you realize you ain't want it no more. F is synthetic. Just looking at it like that. This is why everybody into tribal and spiritual shit now. Also, right? So think about it like this. Extend that to the holy holies. And if you get messages from the holy ones, you know this ain't pseudo. Because the holy ones, holy, 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 pass it down through the holy, holy. You'll be able to see what I'm talking about in nature down into the holy, holy, holy. Right? Into your own holy. Something that you're doing physically, you think you want it, right? And then these be the very same things in your dream that play out as everything you don't want. Well, once entertained you, no longer entertains you. You know what I'm saying? What you thought you was trying to get, no longer you don't want to get, right? You can even ask a slave master right now. At once upon a time, yeah, I want you to be a slave and shit like that. Then at another point in time is, I'm getting tired. Get out my face. It ain't have nothing to do with the slave energy in the first place. It got everything to do with what we got internally going on before we externalize it. Hey, can I feel this stimuli that I can make someone do something? It no matter what it is. In this concept, we putting it in slavery. And then once I get fulfilled, it no longer look good. Don't you feel stupid about yourself? Despicable. Go pick more cotton. I don't want you in my face anymore. You're not the house one no more. You know what I'm saying? See, it ain't had nothing to do with these polarizations. The equilibrium is spirits just be lost in mental retarded fart cloud thought forms. And I love all y'all from the bottom of my heart. Let's all go to heaven. Flight boss, bitch, you know. For sure. You're not listening to the Mind of an Terry's Mill. I am the Royal Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. Y'all stay spiritually protected.